You're listening to Football Friday Night on demand exclusively on 600 ESPN El Paso. Stay up to date with high school football scores, updates, and news by downloading the free 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app.
McKinnon is here and producer Angel Munoz, but Adrian Broadus kind of taking over the reins for the moment here. We're here for the next hour, as Adrian said, with score updates and West Texas high school football game previews, including our game of the night, the Centennial Hawks at your Franklin Cougars, 7 p.m. kickoff at Cougar Stadium. Now, the PCL championship game between the Chihuahuas and the Sacramento River Cats is coming up at 6:30 p.m. So we're talking high school football from now until then. Now, Paul, we have reporters all over the city tonight. It's a new season. Expectations are through the roof. Emails and text messages are flowing. Phone chargers are plugged in, except mine because I forgot mine. But we're all good here. Week one of the high school football season. What are you looking forward to most?
Well, let me just say in general, aside from week 11 where, we always figure out, who's making the playoffs and we put together the bi-district matchups, there's just so much going on. That's an exciting time. Next to that, week one is just my favorite of the season, obviously, because, if you're a high school football fan, it's just like Christmas. You're unwrapping, you're seeing what your team has, what's new, maybe what's gotten a little bit better. I always think about Aaron Dumas at America's, what was that, 2017, I guess, his sophomore season, gets on the field for the first time in a varsity game, runs for more than 300 yards, takes a hitch and pitch into the end zone with about 20 seconds left and beats Eastwood, 36-35? And that guy last year was El Dorado's Ray Estrada. Oh, by the way, in with Parkland again. This will be the fourth straight time those guys have opened with each other, and it's been exciting every single season. But Estrada, what'd he do? I think he ran for 212, maybe 4 touchdowns as a freshman. Freshman Ray Estrada went for 212 in his first game against a good Parkland team. As I said, the 4 TDs, they were down a couple of scores and still came back. Estrada with the winning score, 35-28 winners in that one. Excited to see what a guy like Estrada turns into as a sophomore. Holy smokes, I doubt anybody's run for 212 yards in a game as a freshman. DeMonte Parker, the only guy. Oh, by the way, he was 18 yards shy of the freshman rushing record. That was DeMonte Parker. I think Irvin quarterback 2012 maybe. I think it was 12. He ran for like 1240, and I think DeMonte was like 1260. But so Estrada was the guy last year. How many of those guys, Bo Bagley, are we going to run into tonight?
And Ryan Estrada did it with his senior quarterback, his brother Quincy Estrada. Now, Quincy has now graduated, so Ray Estrada kind of on his own here with the El Dorado Aztecs hosting the Parkland Matadors, the late game at the SAC. That's 7:30 p.m. kickoff. El Dorado hosting Parkland. Our Football Friday Night reporter, Ryan Vidalis, will be on the call for that one. So Centennial Franklin. Here's our lineup of reporters. Adrian Broadus will be handling the game at Franklin's Cougar Stadium. Brandon Cohn, the Iceman, is back. He'll be handling Chapin versus Coronado. Steve Escajeda will be on the call for Alan Sepkowitz Stadium, hosting Andrus, hosting the East Lake Falcons. Will be a fun one there. Dovai will be at Burgess. Joe Rodriguez back again for his 35th year at Football Friday Night. Good to have Joe Rod back. J.D. Sursley will be down at the reservation. Isleta hosting their longtime rivals, the Riverside Rangers, while Joey Panisi will be at Hanks Excalibur Stadium. Hanks hosting Bowie tonight. Zay Galindo, the new guy on the block, handling Irvin Memorial Stadium as Irvin hosts Bel Air, and also Russ Bannister will be at Austin's Panther Stadium, be on the call there as Austin hosts a big game against Fort Stockton. Other games in action, the Socorro Bulldogs hosting Lubbock right now at the SAC. It is at halftime. Right now, Lubbock leads Socorro 31-14 at the half. That game was tied at 7 early on, and then here comes Lubbock. They reeled off 24 straight points, take a 31-7 lead. It's now 31-14 at the half.
Yeah, the good news in that one is Socorro has 14 points. They only scored 2 touchdowns all of last season. One of them was defensive, so 17-game losing streak, by the way, they're looking to snap tonight.
And you got to credit some of the teams going out of town to open up high school football's week one. The Montwood Rams at Midland, formerly called Grande Communications Stadium. I think it's called something Heritage Stadium now. But that game at 6 o'clock, Montwood is at Midland. And then Eastwood taking on South Lake Carroll for the second year in a row. South Lake Carroll put up 60 on the Troopers last year, though it was tied, I think, 7-all in the first quarter last time. South Lake Carroll really pulled away, but you got to give credit to Julio Lopez's group and the Eastwood Troopers taking on South Lake Carroll once again.
Well, they're a team that has, they have aspirations playoff-wise. That's their next step. They actually went to the round of 16 a couple of seasons ago, had a close call to maybe try and get there again last year. So, that's who Julio Lopez is. They're going to be playing good teams in the playoffs. They want to play them early on. I think South Lake Carroll, what did Dave Campbell have them? It was either 4 or 7 in the state, probably number 7 in the state. So, very aggressive. And you're going to, I don't think it's actually at their place, but a neutral site closer to them than it is to us. So, and we'll keep tabs on that. We'll have those scores.
Absolutely. South Lake Carroll defeated Eastwood 66-14 a year ago. We'll see how the Troopers do once again this year. Cathedral Fighting Irish opening up the season in Fort Worth against Lake Country Christian. Should be a fun one. We'll have updates of that one. Again, also Fabens will be at Chaparral Lobo Stadium. San Elizario will be at Anthony's Wildcat Stadium. Anthony opening up a new season with a new head coach, but a familiar head coach, Michael Stevenson, longtime head coach, but then took a couple years, went to as a Riverside as an assistant, but he's back at Anthony. Mountain View also at Alpine, and Santa Teresa taking on Mayfield at the Field of Dreams rematch of last year's playoff game. Should be a lot of fun. Hey, let's go take a look at last night's games to open up Week 1. Pebble Hills, and the big one at the Student Activities Complex. Pebble Hills defeated Canutillo 24-21. Paul and Adrian, you guys were there. A game-winning field goal was the margin there. Talk about this game.
This was a fantastic matchup. Remember, just going into this one, it's on one hand with Pebble Hills, the defending 6A champions, and then you look over with Canutillo, they are the defending 5A Division II champions, and they both get to clash here for a non-district matchup. Remember, this one was out. It was not even a game. It wasn't close last year. It was a 22-0 win for Pebble Hills, and I was thinking to myself, this one could have gotten out of hand. Early on into this one, Pebble Hills was able to get on top of Canutillo by a lead of 14-0. It was Gael Ochoa who had 2 early rushing touchdowns. One of them, by the way, kind of looked like a fumble, but regardless, Canutillo ended up responding with an early touchdown right after the Spartans went up 14-0. They cut the lead to a touchdown, but Pebble Hills was able to go into halftime with a 21-7 lead thanks to a Corals rushing touchdown. A new running back, one of the running backs that they have there at Pebble Hills, who came onto the scene for the first time last year and is going to be a reliable force for them this year. But, Paul, I left the first half with a lot more questions about Canutillo. Man, they answered all those questions in the second half by that resilient comeback. That was a phenomenal comeback there by the Eagles and what they were able to do.
Yeah, I think Mark Torres and Pebble Hills helped considerably, though. I don't know if Canutillo took any disrespect when they decided to go for it on 4th and 2 from their own, 30-yard line?
Wow. Yeah.
And that's really when this game changed. It was 21-7 at that juncture, and Zach Zamora knives through right defensive end and found Ochoa in the backfield, wrestled him down. And from there, little pass, and then Jeremiah Knox, the QB, little power football, 5-yard touchdown run, and they were right back in this thing. And, of course, they closed the gap to 21-all until, again, Aaron – Mark Torres, when you're criticizing coaches, I guess it gets a little tough. So Mark Torres makes the boo-boo that puts Canutillo back into it. And then I thought at the end, they closed the gap, 21-all. Canutillo gets a stop with 1:30 left. Pebble Hills with the ball around midfield. And I think this is where the big mistake took place. 20 seconds runs off the clock, and then Coach Brooks takes the timeout. They could have taken another 20 seconds off. But he takes timeout, 1:07. Of course, Pebble punts it away. Canutillo gets it around their 20, and they run the ball 3 times. The key is that Pebble Hill still had all 3 of their times out. I think Canutillo there needs to just play to try to get to overtime. And by not taking off that time, 3 timeouts, give the ball back. A bad punt, 19 yards out to the 40-yard line, and one play. Marcus Torres, coach's kid for Pebble Hills, hadn't done anything, at least nothing good all night long for the Spartans, but makes a diving 30-yard catch down to the 10-yard line. And then they bring on Aaron Ortega, who had problems of his own. Remember, broken leg last year. He wasn't able to play a large chunk of the season. Missed a 49-yard field goal early and a little 24-yard chip shot that could have given Pebbles a 2-score lead midway through the fourth quarter. This time he comes out 27-yard kick, money with 1 second left on the clock, and Pebble Hill sneaks away with that 24-21 victory. It was sloppy at points. It was exciting at points, including all the way down to the end. And all that matters, I guess, Pebble Hills comes away with the 3-point win.
Yeah, and what a way to kick off high school football, right, here in El Paso. I think that was just a fantastic matchup. It was two juggernauts of their respective districts. I feel like Pebble Hills and Canutillo are both district title contenders throughout the rest of the season. I left this one on the Canutillo side, really impressed with their quarterback in Jeremiah Knox. I mean, he took a big step forward in his maturity in terms of what he brought to the table. Loved what we saw from Dante Aguilar, who caught that touchdown pass also for Canutillo in that game as well. Ethan Villa hauled in a deep pass that also set up that tying touchdown for Canutillo. They look sharp. Now, Gael Ochoa on Pebble Hills, he was probably their standout in the first half on just the ground. Canutillo did a good job of kind of adjusting to them, but I give a lot of credit to that Pebble Hills defense on that final drive for Canutillo. They forced that quick 3-and-out. Mark Torres was able to call his timeouts and get the ball back. Like you said, a little bit of clock mismanagement on the Canutillo side of things, but nonetheless, Pebble Hills scoring and getting those 3 points with under, a minute left? That was pretty impressive.
I think the biggest takeaway, though, that might be the best Canutillo air game we've ever seen. Of course, they're always a ground and pound. Knox, as you said, I think it was Pablo Peregrino, the seam route, 37 yards for their first score. He's wide open. Ethan Villa on a deep post route, again, open, but a nice throw by Knox. That was a 50-yarder. So again, my one takeaway, especially if I'm the rest of the 6A defense, district, I'm thinking of the Eastwood Troopers and a team that can really throw it like the Montwood Rams. I'm kind of licking my chops at that Pebble Hills defensive secondary at the moment.
All right, what a win at the Student Activities Complex last night for the Pebble Hills Spartans. Two veteran coaches, Mark Torres for Pebble Hills in his 8th year, while Canutillo, Scott Brooks, in his 25th year guiding the Eagles at Canutillo. Remember, they went the 3rd round of the playoffs last year. Very veteran team, also coming back.
And remember, he's on the record saying 2 more years. We're not holding him to it, but to me at the Paladuro game a year ago, he said, "Hey, I got 2 more years. L.J. Martin's gone, but I love these sophomores," and those sophomores are now juniors, and in another year they're going to be senior, and he said he's sticking around to graduate all those guys.
And Pebble Hills, arguably one of the top teams in the city, and Canutillo hung with them tough last night. So, once again, Pebble Hills defeated Canutillo 24-21. Also last night, the Americas Trailblazers, with a new head coach, and Noah Robles, topped Las Cruces High. 44-19. Americas now 1-0. Las Cruces starting the season 0-2. Americas looked really good last night.
Yeah, sure did. Impressive. And again, on the road, they took Cruces apart. Who knows what Cruces really has? They, as you said, they fell 0-2. But again, we're talking about unwrapping those new presents on Christmas Day. Cam Johnson, sophomore for Americas, led all rushers, 140-plus yards. 3 touchdowns in that one. Looks like Mark Moore didn't even have to work that hard. Maybe one of the best receivers in the city. Anthony Miranda, just 1 catch. Like I said, I'm not sure they were trying too hard in that. I think they outclassed Cruces all the way.
Once again, Americas over Las Cruces last night, 44-19. Americas will host Odessa 6 p.m. next Thursday at the Student Activities Complex. Speaking of new coaches, Horizon has a brand new head coach, and what a way to open up your career with the Scorpions. Coach Dwan Smith and Horizon defeated Jefferson last night 15-0. Horizon snaps an 11-game losing streak.
And how much pressure has got to be off that guy? Dwan Smith, former America's assistant, and oh, by the way, your head coach just walked out that door. They just hired a brand new coach the year after you left. You can't. I don't know if you're feeling great about that, but you go to a Horizon team that was maybe the best Horizon team it's ever been. and their head coach goes, you come on in and you go 0-10 in that following season. Like I said, getting a win last night and rebooting and restarting your 2023, man, that's got to be huge for that coach.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, the El Paso High Tigers opening up last night against Gadsden Panthers. Gadsden comes away with a 21-14 win. They went to the playoffs last year for the first time in 50 years and topped El Paso High last night. Gadsden now 2-0.
And the Tigers probably going to be fighting for that fourth and final playoff spot in 5A. I think it's among Jeff and Burgess, which one beats the other two to sneak into there. But, they had their moments. New quarterback Martin Gonzalez, he got some naps last year, but a little gadget play. He catches a 73-yard touchdown pass, and Alexis Ramirez, a 53-yard scoring run. So big plays, but they weren't able to sustain anything. Drove the field late. Gonzalez throws the interception at the Gadsden 10-yard line, and that was all she wrote for the Tigers.
And once again, Gadsden all over El Paso High 21-14. In 4A, Clint. Boy, tough way to start the season for Coach Roosevelt Martinez in his 22nd year guiding the Clint Lions. They fell to Hershey last night, 34-0. Clint missed the playoffs for the first time in 14 years last season. That's a tough start to this season. Hopefully Clint and Coach Martinez can turn that around later in the season. So once again, we got lots coming up. We're going to take a break right now. Coming up next on Football Friday Night pregame show brought to you by the El Paso Association of Builders, our Game of the Week preview. It's Franklin hosting Centennial and a preview with Adrian Broadus. Next, you're listening to 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night, the pregame show, brought to you by the El Paso Association of Builders. Football Friday Night pregame show brought to you by Real Texas Builders. Ask your home builder if they're members of the El Paso Association of Builders, the home of Real Texas Builders, elpasobuilders.com. I'm Bo Bagley alongside Paul McKinnon, producer Angel Munoz, and Adrian Broadus. Now, Adrian's got the fun job of heading out to Franklin's Cougar Stadium for our Football Friday Night Game of the Week. The Franklin Cougars hosting the Centennial Hawks, a rematch of a last game last year that the Centennial Hawks were victorious in. Adrian, tell us a little bit about this game and our Game of the Week.
That's right. This is our 915 Tours Game of the Week. And in last year's edition, in the El Paso Las Cruces crosstown matchup between Franklin and Las Cruces Centennial, didn't go great for the Cougars. In fact, they were dominated in the end. 49-21 was the finish. Now, granted, this is not the same Hawks team as they finished off last year, 9-2 overall. But last year's game is a prime reason why this one tonight is going to be very intriguing. Centennial just dropped their season opening matchup last week to Rio Rancho Cleveland, 27-8. In that matchup, their quarterback Daniel Hernandez, he was 13 of 31. They're passing the ball a lot more than they're running. He threw 4 interceptions in that game, but defensively they did force a pair of turnovers. They had 2 interceptions in that game, so that's something to note as Franklin returns Division I prospect Shea Smith. He'll be their quarterback this year. 2 seasons ago, he played a little linebacker and pass rusher for them. As a true freshman, he played a lot of quarterback for them. However, that was in the pandemic-shortened season, and of course, that didn't give him a lot of continuity. So what we're going to see this year from Franklin is a balanced offensive attack, as we always do, from Darren Walker. Running back Jordan Morales will be one of their featured guys. They've got Elias Rangel. I'm really excited about him coming back as a wide receiver for the Franklin Cougars. And how about this, guys? They've had a lineage of the Powers family. It was Richard Powers, Stephen Powers, David Powers. Now we've got 2 more, guys. Patrick Powers and Ernie Powers, the Powers brothers, and the 2 younger brothers are back in action here another time, another year around for the Franklin Cougars.
Love those Powers families. And Darren Walker back for his 17th year. Franklin's made the playoffs 5 straight years with talent all around, offensive weapons. Shea Smith back. You got to think that's going to be 6th year in the playoffs, 6 straight years. But where they fall in District 6A is going to be interesting.
And of course, you mentioned Darren Walker. Don't forget the 6 seasons prior at Chapin, and that was just with the varsity team. He was probably on, a couple of years before that. So maybe 8 years at Chapin and whatever you just said at Franklin. That's 20 mid-20s. He's right on Scott Brooks's tail for not with one team, but most years coaching. Powers kids, by the way, I still feel ripped off a little, I think, with Stephen Powers. Big David Powers, the middle linebacker, and the sophomore Stephen Powers on the outside edge were so terrific watch. What a wonderful Franklin defense that was. And Powers, well, the next season was COVID season. And then I don't know what it was last year, a groin injury. He maybe played a half the entire year. I feel ripped off as a guy who just likes watching those Power kids play. Pat Powers, he's a nice route runner, and Franklin's going to need him. They lost your favorite guy, the playmaker, Bo Sparks.
Bo knows.
I think he went to Utah Tech. I think that's right. But they'll need him, and of course Ernie Powers, the youngster, played as a freshman, and I really mean played, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Be interesting to see if they put him back behind Smith in some capacity, let him carry the football.
Absolutely, and Shea Smith, the son of former Andress Eagle, UTEP Minor, and longtime NFL fullback Paul Smith, going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fantastic, I would say, charisma and gameplay for those guys. We're going to toss to break here. We're going to come back with more score updates, and also we'll head out to Coronado for a preview from Brandon Cohn, Coronado hosting Chapin, and also Steve Escajeda at Alan Sepkowitz Stadium as Andress hosting Eastlake. You're listening to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. That's right, AC/DC leading us into Football Friday Night, the pregame show, brought to you by the El Paso Association of Builders. We have some early games going on today, so let's get to our 915 tours and Ignitify local scoreboard. At halftime, Lubbock leading Socorro High 31-14, that game at the SAC. 6 p.m. kickoff. It's now called Astound Broadband Stadium. Midland hosting Montwood. Montwood Rams traveling down to Midland. Should be a good one down there. Should be a lot of fun for that game. Also, 6:30 p.m. kickoff, Alpine hosting Mountain View. Meanwhile, Cathedral's game at Fort Worth has been changed to a kickoff at 8 p.m. We got a report. It's 108 degrees down there in Fort Worth. This feels like Texas high school football in August, doesn't it?
Got to wait for that sun to go down before we can kick this thing off.
Other games at 7 p.m. Southlake Carroll taking on and hosting Eastwood. Chaparral hosting Fabens. Anthony hosting Sanelli. Up in the Field of Dreams, Mayfield hosting Santa Teresa. In our game of the week, brought to you by 915 Tours, Franklin hosting Centennial, 7 p.m. kickoff at Franklin's Cougar Stadium. Coronado hosting Chapin, 7 p.m. kick. Andress hosting Eastlake. Burgess hosting Delvine. Isleta hosting Riverside. Hanks hosting Bowie. Irvin hosting Bel Air. And 6 p.m. kickoff just right now, Austin taking on Fort Stockton. Meanwhile, 7:30 p.m. kickoff at the SAC, El Dorado hosting Parkland. Let's head out to Coronado's Jack Quarles, Don Brooks, Thunderbird Stadium for a preview for his first preview of the year from Iceman Brandon Cohn. He has a preview on Coronado hosting Chapin. Iceman, take it away.
In a rather intriguing matchup between Coronado and Chapin that'll actually take place at historic R.R. Jones Stadium due to construction at Quarles Book Stadium. You have the Huskies, or the District 1-5A Division II favorites, facing a Coronado squad that won 3 games last year, actually for the first time since 2016. Now, Chapin, a team who went 4-7 last season, is led by one of the city's most dynamic athletes in sophomore QB Davion Singleton, who had 637 passing yards, 902 rushing yards, 23 total TDs, and only half a season as a starter last year, and already has 2 Division I offers from the likes of Hawaii and SMU. Now, this team also has a slew of talent, as they have junior quarterback Evan Rivera, who actually tore his ACL last season, but is healthy now, so we may see him in a QB as well this evening. We return 16 starters, and of course they're loaded at wideout with the likes of Savion Jordan, Hunter Standerford, Brett Holloman Jr., and their secondary will be the strength of their defense. On the other side of the ball, Coronado, the home team tonight, led by 95 alum Mike Pry in his second season. They went 3-7 last year, but also 16 returning starters, led by their quarterback, Owen Levesque, 1,422 passing yards, 15 TDs last season. Universal wideout Blake Randag, also Mateo Grijaldo, Kason Golding, son of UTEP basketball coach Joe Golding. Also, you have the likes of Cody Hunt. And this is a team that also has one of the city's best defensive units, potentially 9 returning starters, including linebackers Perez, Gonzalez, an all-district safety. Of course, this team looking for a redemption as they lost to Chapin 34-20 to open up the 22 campaign. And a beautiful little windy evening here at historic R.R. Jones Stadium. Get ready for kickoff about 45 minutes away between Coronado and Chapin.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much from R.R. Jones Stadium, Coronado hosting Chapin. What a fun one there that's going to be. And once again, as Brandon just said, Paul, Mike Pry back for his second year at Coronado, 10 starters back on defense. This a lot. Are their expectations higher? They're obviously higher at Coronado, but should they be high for a playoff spot?
I think they're the dark horse this year, or a dark horse. I wouldn't be surprised at all. They had their moments last year. Remember, they led Eastwood for about a half. Got their quarterback in Dutch. He actually got benched for a little bit a year ago. So Coronado gave them a run, and I think the Americas game late in the year they had that one in the bag and kind of let it get away. The one thing I saw from Coach Pry, again a new coach, bemused me a little. The entire senior class of Coronado from last season was expunged from the stat page. Cade Little, best skill guy for the last 3 years. His 700-ish yards doesn't exist anymore, only in the team totals. But every single senior on that team is no longer on the stat page. And who knows if it's overreaction or if somebody did something. But my point is, you're a new program and you're trying to lay down the law. Hey, we do things a certain way here at Coronado at Coronado. And we have those standards, and if you don't meet those standards, or if you do something that goes against our standards, there are going to be consequences, and maybe we'll see that, and we'll see how that is going forward. If you're going to mess up, we're coming after you, because we don't take that kind of thing here at Coronado. We'll see how it manifests itself this year. Are they really the surprise team that they really could be? Dripping in underclassmen. Owen Levesque coming back for his second year as a starting quarterback. Split time with Randag a couple of years ago, but a big step he took. Blake Randag, remember in this Chapin contest a year ago, touched the ball 5 times, had 4 touchdowns. The only time he didn't score is when on defense he jumped on a fumble. He had, I think it was a pick 6, touchdown catch, and a couple of TD runs. So, as I said, a bunch of youngsters all coming back. Oh, by the way, they got a sophomore that they just love, Ben Wilson. I told you, Cade Little out the door. They love this Ben Wilson kid, best athlete they say on the team. And again, we'll see what he's able to accomplish tonight when he gets his hands on the ball.
And once again, expectations high for Clemson too. Chapin as well. Ryan Warner in his third year. So they made the playoffs last year and looking to go even further this year. So that's going to be a fun one this year.
Same boat. A bunch of kids. Remember, they went 0-4 and looked awful. As I said, midway through the season, took Davion Singleton, that freshman running back, and turned him into the freshman quarterback. And Chapin took off from there. Second place in their district, but. Singleton threw for about 700 yards and really about 6 games of action, and ran for about this. I think he ran for a little over 900. So a phenomenal athlete. As you know, no relation to Terreno Singleton. You talked to head coach Ryan Warner last year. Military family that moved in from elsewhere, and boy is Chapin happy that he did. But again, Savion Jordan, a bunch of sophomores last year that are juniors this year. Chapin's ready to hit a new level, I think.
Very much so. Once again, 7 p.m. at R.R. Jones Stadium, Coronado hosting Chapin. Hey, another game kickoff at 7 o'clock from Alan Sepkowitz Stadium. The Andrus Eagles hosting the East Lake Falcons. For a preview, let's head out to Steve Escajeda. Steve, take it away.
Thanks a lot, guys. That's right. We're here in really cloudy skies here on the northeast El Paso. East Lake Falcons at the Andrus Eagles. Tonight, a battle of a couple teams who are always in the playoff hunt every single year, and today should be no exception. Andrus looking for a little payback from last year's encounter. East Lake defeated the Eagles 27-14 a year ago. For the East Lake Falcons, they were 6-5 in 2022. And the funny thing is that they come into this bowl game on a 4-game losing streak, losing the last 3 regular season games, and also the by-district game a year ago. So, again, they're going to want to get on the right track to begin the season. And for East Lake, they go as their quarterback, Luke Lomeli, goes. As a sophomore, Lomeli completed 63% of his passes, over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 picks, but he also was their leading rusher, 462 yards, 6 more touchdowns on the ground. So again, and this is all as a sophomore. So again, he's starting as a junior this year. And I'm telling you what, they're going to need him to carry the load tonight. And based on what he did last year, I'm not expecting anything less. For the Andrus Eagles, Coach Chris Taylor, his biggest problem this year is that they've lost just about everyone, especially on offense, from a year ago. Look at this. Their starting quarterback, their top 2 running backs, their top 2 receivers are gone, graduated. So they're basically starting from scratch. You're looking at quarterback, maybe Donovan Melendez to lead them this year. We'll see how that goes. Andrus finished 5-6 a year ago. When's the last time we talked about Andrus having a losing record? That just doesn't happen. And one last thing that I'll mention that's kind of striking. I've got both rosters for each team here. Andrus's roster is about half as big as that one of Eastlake. I'm counting 36 guys total on the team. So, again, not as many guys coming up for football, I guess, at Andrus as we normally see. I'm just counting 36 guys on the roster. Eastlake, again, almost double that. So that could play quite a difference in tonight's ball game. So, again, like we said, we're here in the Northeast El Paso, Eastlake Falcons. After the Andrus Eagles, it looks like could rain tonight. Who knows? Pretty cloudy. And welcome back to 2023 high school football.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. Going to be a fun one out there at Alan Sepkowitz Stadium. Once again, Andrus hosting Eastlake. Andrus coming off a 5-6 season, just like what Steve said. Andrus has made the playoffs 19 straight seasons, losing to Abilene Cooper last year. See what Chris Taylor can do with that roster, once again, that Steve said, half the size of Eastlake. Eastlake coming off a 6-5 season. They've made the playoffs 10 straight years, so should be a fun one. Lots of talent up in Northeast El Paso. Andrus hosting Eastlake. We're going to come back with some scores. We'll have our Ignitify local scoreboard. You're listening to Football Friday Night pregame show right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Our pregame show brought to you by the El Paso Association of Builders. Once a week, our 915 Tours Game of the Week. The Franklin Cougars hosting the Centennial Hawks. 7 p.m. tonight at Cougar Stadium. We have some score updates. Our local scoreboard brought by Ignitify. Local scoreboard, halftime. It's now second half. Lubbock still leads Socorro 31-14. We also have an update from Astound Broadband Stadium, formerly known as Grande Communications Stadium. Midland over Montwood 8-0 in the first. Midland High's Elijah McCoy returns the opening kickoff 78 yards for a touchdown. Anthony Cobb ran it in for 2 points. Once again, 8-0 Midland over Montwood.
I wouldn't sweat that, though. This game always high scoring, and the Montwood Rams, I said it last year, they're only 2-8. I'll say it, and I'll say it again. To me, they were the best passing team in the city a year ago. Of course, the quarterback Galvan is gone. Michael Southern, who got a lot of reps, he comes back. In fact, Southern threw the most important pass of the Montwood season. Remember, in the Franklin game, they closed down touchdown in the final minute, down a point, extra point, snap low. Southern was your holder. He rolls right, finds Brandon Salcedo dragging across the back end of the end zone, threw a perfect spiral for the 2-point conversion and the huge 42-41, I think it was, victory. So Southern's been there, done that, and he's dripping in receivers. Diego Oaxaca, the Alvarez kid, and even folks who didn't play a year ago who are out injured. They have a lot of talent. Salcedo, the tight end, love him as well.
Absolutely. So once again, Midland over Montwood after a 78-yard kickoff return for a touchdown to open up the game. Midland up on Montwood 8-0. This now game in the fourth quarter, Socorro trailing Lubbock 31-14. Also, Mountain View opening up a lead on Alpine. Kickoff 6-0 Lobos.
Alex Lerma with a touchdown run, and they're going to need him to plug that hole. He's been a short yardage back last couple of years. Remember, Gilbert Gamboa, their stud running back, walks out the door. And, oh, by the way, so did that 1,000-yard 2-year receiver, Hansel Hernandez. Saw him returning punts last night at Pebble Hills. So, culture shock at Mountain View. They lost a lot of talent. Alex Lerma is going to have a big year.
And another game just underway at Austin's R.E. McKee Stadium. Austin and Fort Stockton playing. That's a big one for the Austin Panthers to open up the 2023 season. Russ Bannister out there. And once again, we want to remind you our local scoreboard brought to you by Ignitify. Finding a trustworthy person to work on your AC might be difficult. Ignitify is here to help. They have over 20 years of experience in El Paso and a 5-star rating on Google. Don't take it from us. Call them today to set up an appointment. Ignitify is known for maintenance and repairs to your cooling system. Visit ignitifyep.com to get started today. Once again, we'll head out to Tim Haggerty and Southwest University Park for Chihuahua's hosting the Sacramento River Cats here in just a few minutes. But as we preview the 2023 high school football season, time to talk about some of the big games and what you're looking forward to. Paul, what are you looking forward to the most? Obviously, Pebble Hills coming off a district championship, Canutillo, Eastlake, Eastwood, all in the mix there in their respective divisions. What are you looking forward to?
Well, if we're just talking about tonight, I'm looking forward to El Dorado Parkland. Remember, that's a 7:30 kickoff tonight. Our Ryan Vidales is out there. And as I said, the last 4 straight years, these teams have gone at it, and it's always been exciting. I think it was 35-33, the first of these. Parkland got that one. But then the year after on a Thursday night at the SAC, I can't... Its names leave you from so many years ago. But Parkland drives the field, scores late. Eric Ortiz leads the drive, maybe 30 seconds left, and they kick the ball deep, and the kid returns it all the way for a score. It is just always exciting. As we said last year, 35-28, the freshman Ryan Estrada had a huge game, 212 yards, 4 touchdowns, including the go-ahead TD. They were down 2 touchdowns, and they scored the final 3. Estrada, of course, with that, had an 83-yard touchdown run also in that one, and they come away with the 35-28 win. For whatever reason, that's always a fun game. Oh, by the way, Anthony Carrillo comes back tonight for the Parkland Matadors. He was starting running back a year ago. Had a big first game, this game with Dorado. He ran for 161 to keep the Mats in it. Got injured week 2. I think it was a broken ankle, and he was down the rest of the year. So now Anthony Carrillo finally back on the field. Isaiah Beasley graduates. I think he was the number 2 rusher in the city a year ago after he took over Carrillo's job. Well, Anthony's back in there now. It's going to be fun to see what he's able to do. That guy's probably been dying to get back on the field.
Absolutely. We'll talk about a lot of 5A Division I actually at the moment. Parkland coming off a 7-4 season, 4-1 in district, and Coach Lee McWhorter's second year now. They lost a lot of people, a lot of weapons. Texas Tech signee DJ Crest, UTEP signee Tyrone McDuffie, running back Isaiah Beasley. But Lee McWhorter really likes their defense, so it's going to be a lot of fun watching that one. And then you look at Del Valle in this district. Del Valle only had 2 losses last year. They were to Pebble Hills and then in the playoffs to Abilene. They've made the playoffs 19 straight years. They were 9-2 last year, 5-0, and if you can believe it, a little bit under the radar.
And, you lose your starting quarterback, your 2-year starting QB, and you got a guy taller than I am. I met this kid at the All-Star game workout or whatever it is, they call it last year, the Combine, sorry. Jake Feta, all of 6'3", and like I said, that was 6 months ago or 8 months ago, whatever it is. There's no telling how tall he is now. But Jake Feta gets plugged in. Of course, his dad played at UTEP. Flower Mound Marcus, they brought him in from, I think, 99, who's part of that recruiting class. So Feta comes back as a sophomore, and if that's not enough, sophomore, maybe a little shaky, hasn't played a lot yet, but dripping in skill guys. Every other skill guy on that Del Valle team comes back. Jonathan Estrada, the top receiver catches-wise, and then you have the guy who's the top yardage receiver, Matt Lopez. He comes back as well. Shelton Fuller, who got 365 after he moved from the El Dorado area. He got plugged in about midway through the season and played like his hair was on fire the rest of the way. The Anchondo kid was the regular running back. As I said, you're plugging in a new quarterback, a kid with skills that project, and he's got nothing but talent all around him.
Absolutely. Another player in that district, Bel Air, coming off their most wins since 1986. They were 8-3 last year. We got Hanks, Isleta Horizon picking up a victory tonight. Isleta in there, going to be a lot of fun in District 5A Division 1.
Yeah, you mentioned Bel Air when they had their 3 boys together. Noah Moreno, the quarterback, Zach Martinez, the running back, and Chris Davis, the receiver. They were 7-0 Remember in that seventh victory, Martinez broke his collarbone. He was down the rest of the season, and Bel Air was as well. They only go 1-3 the rest of the way. Yes, they did have an incredibly easy schedule, I'd say, but in their mind, I think they think when they got those three guys together, they're probably unbeatable, and they'll probably feel more like that after they get an Irvin team that just brings back Gio Sotelo, the running back, tonight.
We're going to toss a break here in just a moment. 5A Division II, it's really Canutillo's show. After a 10-3 season, 5-0 in district, can Andrus and Chapin really give Canutillo a run, you think?
Andrus and Chapin, Chapin, their arrow is going up. Andrus, I wonder about. They lost everybody. Elias Duncan. Wow, these guys I didn't see these guys until the bi-district game last year versus Abilene Cooper, but Elias Duncan, the quarterback, 2-year starter, was a stud. And then you look at those two, the twins, the Owens receivers, also out the door. I was like, man, how did these guys not score more often? And, of course, the guy that we heard about all the time, Malcolm Anderson, who only touched the ball 2 times in the first half, by the way. Find that curious even now. But all of that talent walks out the door. I have no clue what the Andrus Eagles are going to have. You know, traditionally they've reloaded, but, like I said, tonight's Christmas for them too.
Absolutely. We'll have much more on 6A tonight following the Chihuahuas game on Football Friday night. Going to be a lot of games, a lot of excitement. Do you have a score update real quick, Paul?
Yeah, Russ Bannister sends me from Austin, from Army Key Stadium, 13-0. But he didn't put the team. Eric Dominguez catches a screen pass, 13-zip. I'm going to say for the moment, Austin's up. We'll have a clarification on, Russ. They didn't have cell phones. Texting is not his forte.
We'll have all these scores and much more tonight on Football Friday night following the Chihuahuas game.
Oh, my bad. I threw Russ under the bus. Mountain View. Another score on the board. Eric Dominguez goes 20 yards with a screen pass, 13-0. 5:33 left in that one. Mountain View, they lost all their skill guys, but still blowing and going tonight.
All right, Mountain View over Alpine, that early in the game, 13-0. Once again, we'll have much more on Football Friday night following the Chihuahuas game. We're going to take a break, send it out to Tim Haggerty at Southwest University Park as the Chihuahuas hosting the Sacramento River Cats. And once again, Football Friday night following the Chihuahuas game right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Oh, yeah, it's Football Friday night. Week 1 of the high school football season is here. And we have a truncated version of Football Friday night, a late night version. I'm your host, Bo Bagley, alongside the hardest worker in the business, Paul McKinnon, and producer Angel Munoz. We're here for the next couple of hours with score updates and West Texas high school football games, including our game of the night, Centennial at Franklin, brought to you by 915 Tours. PCL Championship, we want to thank Tim Haggerty. Chihuahuas fell to Sacramento 6-3, but we're talking high school football from here on out. Boy, lightning all over the Sun City. Delayed some games, even southern New Mexico, postponed and canceled some games. But we have some big games all over the West Texas area. We want to start down in Midland in 6A. The Montwood Rams fall to Midland Bulldogs 39-14. Montwood falls to 0-1 to start the season. Also, back of the sack, a 4 p.m. kickoff. Lubbock tops Socorro 37-27. Let's head out to South Lake Carroll. Big game between the Dragons and the Eastwood Troopers, but this has been all South Lake Carroll. They lead 42-14 at halftime. Troopers fell to South Lake Carroll 66-14 a year ago, now trail 42-14 at half. Elsewhere in 6A, our 915 Tours game of the week, Franklin hosting Centennial. Franklin leads Centennial 15-7 in the second quarter. Meanwhile, over at R.R. Jones Stadium, Coronado with a home game against the Chapin Huskies. Coronado leads Chapin 14-13 in the second quarter. Over to Allen Sepkowitz Stadium, a very late night game. Start 8:35 kickoff. Eastlake leads Andrus 7-0 in the first. Also over the late game over at the Student Activities Complex, El Dorado trails Parkland at halftime 13-7. Elsewhere in 5A, Del Valle all over Burgess early on in the third quarter, 54-12. Meanwhile, down at the reservation, Isleta leads Riverside 28-14.
Bo Bagley, check that one. This just in. Toa Samoa Misio I can't even read my own writing. Missy Yoki, maybe I should have let you just keep talking. 13-yard TD run. Riverside down as much as 28-7 in this one. Now back within 28-21.
Okay, 7-point game there at the reservation at Hutchins Stadium. 28-21 has led a leading Riverside that game in the third quarter. Remember, once again, lightning delays and rain all over the Sun City, delaying all of our kickoffs. Hanks over to Excalibur Stadium. Hanks leads Bowie 42-8, that game in the third quarter. Also in the second quarter, 47-0 Bel Air over Irvin, and Austin High with an early kickoff against Fort Stockton. Austin led 13-7 in the third, but Fort Stockton currently leads 14-13 in the third quarter.
Actually, an update from that one. Not good for the locals. I can't find it in my notes, but an 8-yard TD run. Marco Sanchez, I believe, 21-7. 21-6.
21-13.
21.
Okay, so Fort Stockton with the touchdown, thanks to Paul. 21-13, Fort Stockton leading Austin, that game start of the fourth quarter.
3:59 left in the fourth quarter, 21-13, Stockton over Austin.
Elsewhere, Anthony hosting San Elizario, but that game canceled due to lightning. Also canceled, Mayfield hosting Santa Teresa up at the Field of Dreams. Cathedral taking on Lake Country Christian in Fort Worth. It was 108 degrees at the regular kickoff time, so that game pushed back to 8 o'clock. Currently, Lake Country Christian leads Cathedral 35-0 in the fourth quarter. Early kickoff down at Alpine, Mountain View all over Alpine late in this game, 27-12. Let's head out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Join Adrian Broadus with an update from Cougar Stadium Centennial at Franklin. Adrian, take it away.
It's halftime out here at Franklin High School as the Cougars lead the Las Cruces Centennial High Hawks 15-7. It's been an interesting first half so far, and it's all so far Shea Smith on the Franklin side of things. We saw him fumble a snap early on into this one, but then he settled in nicely. He's 12 of 19 through the air, 113 passing yards, including a touchdown pass from 26 yards out to Gerald Williams. If you're not sure who Gerald Williams is, well, he's a sophomore who already has 4 catches, 59 receiving yards for the Cougars, and leads the team so far in reception. How about on the ground for the Cougars? Jordan Morales leading the way. He had a 75-yard rushing touchdown. He's got 5 carries on the ground, 86 yards on the ground, and a touchdown as well. Las Cruces Centennial came into this one 0-1 on the season after losing last week to Rio Rancho Cleveland. And in that game, they ended up passing the ball 31 times. In this game, they are favoring the run a little bit more. They've rushed 16 attempts to just 12 passing attempts on their side, and 16 carries on the ground has equaled to 120 rushing yards for Centennial, including a 49-yard touchdown run from Daniel Hernandez, their quarterback. He's kind of struggled through the air, 6 of 12 through the air, 59 passing yards, and hasn't really settled into his own as far as being a passing quarterback. But on the ground, he has a really nice dual threat ability on his end. So I'll send it back to you guys in the studio. We're at the half right now. Franklin Cougars up 15-7 over Las Cruces Centennial in our 915 Tours Game of the Week.
Adrian, thank you so much. Once again, our 915 Tours Game of the Week, 15-7, Franklin. Centennial top Franklin last year. Franklin coming back, hosting this game tonight. Of course, lots of rain, a lot of weather delays. Maybe the rain caused some fumbles early, but think about the way that the Cougars have responded.
Yeah, I think Franklin really had to come into this one with a chip on their shoulder. They got brutalized and beaten last year by Centennial. The team just ground them down. Micah Gutierrez, remember the graduated running back, 4 TD runs in the first half. They were up several scores and just coasted to victory. That was an embarrassment for a Franklin team that, they made the playoffs, so, not a bad year, but not nearly as good as they wanted to be. Centennial, different team this year, I would say so. Of course, they're coming off that loss to Rio Rancho Cleveland, the New Mexico State champs, a week ago. In that game, as I told you, they ground Franklin down last year. Last week, they ran for fewer than 60 yards. So maybe it's partly the Centennial run game, and maybe it's, like I said, a little more fired-up Franklin Cougar defense, and maybe a better Franklin team this year. They are not getting run over this year. They got the 15-7 lead.
Absolutely. Our game of the week brought to you by 915 Tours, a division of Classic Elegance Coaches. They provide the best travel packages from El Paso to Dallas for Cowboy home games. Packages include round-trip travel, hotel stay at the Dallas Omni, an ultimate fan experience tailgate, a meet and greet with a player, and your ticket to watch the Cowboys. Follow on Facebook or Instagram to learn more at 915 Tours. Hey, this game just went to halftime. Let's out to the Iceman, Brandon Cohn, at R.R. Jones Stadium. Coronado hosting Chapin. Brandon, take it away.
Yes, we are about to enter the third quarter at historic Jones Stadium. And how about Coronado with the 14-13 edge heading into the locker room at half? Coronado's quarterback Owen Levesque, 7-9, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first half, 7 carries, 37 yards on the ground. Running back Thomas Murray had 4 carries for 15 yards. Wideout Blake Randag, one of their stars through the air, 2 receptions, 71 yards. And Ben Wilson, 3 receptions, 31 yards, 2 touchdowns. For Chapin, they actually had taken a 10-0 lead into the second quarter. Their quarterback, Davion Singleton, who's already got 2 D1 offers, 4 of 12, 64 yards, 10 carries, 44 yards on the ground. Their running back, Kerry Wade, had 3 carries for 29 yards, a touchdown, and kicker Dominguez, 2 field goals of 42 and 37 yards. The T-Birds D really stepping up in the second half. As I noted, their offense was blank there in the first quarter there. They downed the Husky signal caller, Singleton. They just pretty much shut him down there into the second quarter. Their offense came alive, as I noted, in the second quarter after being blank there. And how about this? Of course, they won the matchup against Chapin last season, 34-20. So they're really trying to build off of the momentum from the victory at last year. We're starting the third quarter at Jones Stadium, and Coronado with the narrow 14-13 lead over Chapin.
All right, Iceman, thank you so much. Once again, remember there is ongoing construction at Thunderbird Stadium. That's why this game was moved to R.R. Jones Stadium. But a 1-point lead at the half, 14-13, Coronado over Chapin.
And we talked in the pregame show, the Coronado Thunderbirds, they love that sophomore Ben Wilson, and I think we're seeing tonight why they love him. A couple of touchdown passes. Coronado's only points and the 1-point lead. Where would they be without him? Maybe 13-zip.
There you go. Let's go to Steve Escajeda at Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. Andrus hosting Eastlake. The band is on the field. A very late kickoff, 8:35, 8:40-ish, while the band was prepping pregame. So let's head out to Steve, get an update on Eastlake at Andrus. Steve.
Well, it was 8:41 to be exact when we finally got things started here. Now we've got 10:08 to go in the second quarter at Eastlake, out in front of Andrus, 14-0. Eastlake is dominated from the very start. They got it going at the 8:54 mark in the first quarter. Julius Acosta scored from 3 yards out after a snap went over the punter's head for Andrus. They recovered their own punt at the 3-yard line. Again, 2 plays later, Acosta scoring from 3 yards out. And then just a little while ago, Luke Lomali, talented quarterback for Eastlake, hitting Ivan Medrano for a 75-yard touchdown bomb to make it 14-0. And the biggest thing going on right now is that defense of Eastlake. They've limited Andrus, normally a very good team from years past. Andrus has run 14 plays so far in the ball game, and they've gained 4 yards. That's the way it's been so far. 10:08 to go in the second quarter. It is Eastlake 14, Andrus 0.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. Wow, 14 plays for the Andrus Eagles, just 4 yards for the Andrus offense. 14-0 Eastlake leading Andrus in the second quarter. Hey, let's go out to a very late kickoff also at the Student Activities Complex. Ryan Vidalis on the call. El Dorado hosting Parkland, an 8 p.m. kickoff. This one started out with a bang for the Parkland Matadors. Let's go out to Ryan to get an update. Ryan, take it away.
At the half here at the Socorro Activities Complex, it is Parkland 13, El Dorado 7. The story of this game came by Coach Frank Martinez from El Dorado electing not to start sophomore star running back Ryan Estrada. He is suited out, but he has not entered the game in the first half. To pick up the load, it's been Albert Rav, who has led all rushers for the El Dorado Aztecs. He has 7 carries on the night for 55 yards, and in the beginning of the game, he opened up with a 37-yard touchdown. On the other side of the ball for Parkland, Anthony Carrillo has 6 carries for 18 yards and 1 touchdown. Did also open up the game electric with a 90-yard kickoff return. So far, though, it's been an electric first 5 minutes followed by a defensive stalemate. Following that first 5 minutes, it's been nothing but 9 punts from both teams back and forth. Defense has led the game, and neither team has been able to get anything going through the air. Once again, at the half, Parkland 13, El Dorado 7.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Wow, 13-7, the Matadors over the El Dorado Aztecs. Once again, an 8 p.m. kickoff at the Student Activities Complex. What a game down at the reservation. Okay, we're going to go to the reservation just a little bit. It was 28-14. At one point, it was 28-7, Isleta over Riverside. Now 28-21, Riverside coming back into this game. This is a heated rival over the past few years, even though Riverside now in 4A, Isleta in 5A. These still two teams, Lower Valley teams, still a very big rivalry between these two teams. So once again, 28-21, currently in the third quarter, start of the fourth. Isleta leading Riverside. We're going to head out to J.D. Sursley in just a moment. Also, Delvi putting 60 up on Burgess. We'll head out to Joe Rodriguez in just a moment. Waiting for Joey Panisi. All this lightning and rain and everything's got all of our phone calls going a little haywire right now. So trying to work to see who we got in the line. Now we got J.D. Sursley. Let's head down to the reservation in Hutchins Stadium and join J.D. Sursley for an update on Isleta hosting Riverside. JD, are you there? JD, take it away.
I think somebody took JD away.
I guess so. Maybe he's just a little too much into Riverside. We'll have our producer Angel Munoz get somebody on the line, and we'll see who's going. Once again, Hanks all over Bowie, 42-16.
And let's quickly get to what JD's been sending us all night. The Jackson kid, a couple of TDs early for Isleta, 65 and 25 yards. This guy was on the roster last year, just injured. Boy, they're happy to have him back because they jumped out to a 14-0 lead. The quarterback, Evan Martinez, the junior 3-year starter, 17-yard run, got it to 21-0 before Riverside bounced back Derek Vasquez, couple of TDs, 16-yarder and a 2-yarder to close within 28-14. Julius Bibbs, a 6-yard run for Isleta in the intermittents. And then the guy whose name I can't read, Toa Samoa Misioki, the 13-yard TD run. That was about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, in Riverside trying to close that gap. Riverside, a team preseason ranked top 25 according to Dave Campbell's, and they're trying to live up to that. Either Isleta's that good or Riverside, minus all the talent from last year. Angel Munoz out the door, Jose Guardado out the door, Adrian Estrada, the three playmakers, all out the door. And Riverside, they're looking for answers right about now.
Absolutely. Other score action. Bel Air put up 22 points in the first quarter. They currently lead Irvin 47-0. That game in the first half. And we have a final out of Austin's R.E. McKee Stadium. 21-13, Fort Stockton tops Austin. We'll head out for a final from Russ Bannister in just a little bit. Once again, 21-13, Fort Stockton over Austin. That is a final. Let's head out to Joey Panisi at Hanks Excalibur Stadium to get an update on the Hanks Bowie game. Joey, take it away.
Yes, from Hanks Excalibur Stadium with time expiring in the third quarter, Hanks has amassed a 48-16 lead over the Bowie Bears. Let me I can come up with numbers later in the score, but let me tell you, it's Marcos Porras, Ruben Laguna, and Michael Oliver for Hank have just been running all over Bowie. Several touchdowns each, hundreds of yards rushing. Like I say, I'll break the details down in a later report. But Bowie has struck back twice on two huge plays, a 50-yard touchdown strike and also a 52-yard scramble. So entering the fourth quarter, just at the beginning, it's now the Hanks Knights 49 and the Bowie Bears 16.
Joey, thank you so much. Great job. 49-16. Hanks all over the Bowie Bears. Let's head out to J.D. Sursley now at the reservation. 28-21 last check. Isleta over Riverside. JD, what do you got for us?
All right, woo, we got a barn burner here. Riverside just tied the game. Actually, well, they went for it and they missed the field goal. So it's 28 Isleta, Riverside 27. They tried for an onside kick. That failed. But yeah, so DeAndre Jackson and Evan Martinez has been the power muscle for Isleta. Evan Martinez, ground and pound with his passing, both over 130 yards, 3 touchdowns for Evan Martinez. And then Derek Vasquez put everything on his shoulder. And then Evan Martinez is going to take it to the house. Oh, my God, Lord, no flag. No flag. Evan Martinez probably just saved the game from the comeback against the Riverside Rangers. Oh, my God. He just ran for 68 yards. And honestly, with all the penalties, he should have over 500 yards rushing. But unfortunately, Isleta has a lot of penalties on offense. So Evan Martinez just scampered for 68 yards. There seems to be no flag, so it is 34 Isleta, Riverside 27. The comeback for Riverside just may have halted. 2:36 left in the fourth quarter. We shall see what happens. Barring the missed field goal, it is 34-27. Oh, and it looks like Isleta is going to go for 2 just to add to their lead and to make it another hefty score for Riverside to come back. It is 2:36. Evan Martinez lines up. 4 wide out. Running back to the left side. Here we go. And then the receiver goes in motion. Fakes that. Evan Martinez. Oh, he stopped. No 2-point conversion. 2:36 left in the fourth quarter. We have a barn burner in Isleta Stadium. Isleta 34, Riverside 27. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, we ball.
All right, JD, thank you so much. Wow. What a week 1 decision to go for 2 when a PAT would essentially give you an 8-point lead.
8-point edge and a little insurance that you're not going to get beaten. Riverside still has 2.5 minutes left to go. Sounded like JD was thinking Evan Martinez is all right, 68 yards. Game over. Not so fast, my friend. Riverside has the ball back. 2.5 minutes, plenty of time to score and kick, I guess. You'd wind up kicking the extra point just to tie, so you don't look to be the fool on the other end. But, kick the extra point, go up 8. On that good side, I guess, if you get the 2, it's a 2-score game now. But, it's a wild one out there already, and nothing would surprise me in the final 2.5 out at Hutchins Stadium.
And that's a game that is led 21-0 in the second quarter. It's now 34-27, 2.5 minutes to go. We'll head back out to JD Sursley in just a moment. Once again, we want to let you know we got a final. Fort Stockton topped Austin 21-13. We're going to take a break, head back out to Hutchins Stadium for an update. You're listening to Football Friday Night, Week 1, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night, Week 1 edition. We already have a barn burner at Isleta's Hutchins Stadium. We'll head down to the Riverside Isleta game in just a moment. First, let's head out to Burgess Mustang Stadium. Del Valle is putting up a 60 spot, maybe even a 70 spot. Let's head out to Joe Rodriguez for an update on Del Valle at Burgess. Joe.
3:17 left in the ball game, and it is Del Valle leading Burgess by the score of 67-25 currently. Del Valle is in the red zone at the Burgess 10-yard line with first down and 10 to go. They can still get a first down. So I'm sorry, that would put them on the 12-yard line. But no, it has been all Del Valle. The most recent spark here in the second half has got to be from Jonathan Estrada, who went for touchdowns on back-to-back kickoff returns, one for 70 yards and the other one for 82 yards in a game where it's been all Del Valle. Last year, these two met up with Del Valle dominating 56-0. They were able to pitch a shutout. This year hasn't been much different, frankly, with Del Valle dominating. At halftime, it was 47-6. Burgess has been able to get on the scoreboard. Alex Rios, the quarterback, Caleb Hanna, as a running back, have been getting it done along with number 3, Devin Manza, wide receiver. That's been the heart of the offense for this Burgess Mustangs team, who is looking just to put points on the board and look some kind of, some way proficient. So with 2 minutes to go in the ball game, it is Del Valle leading Burgess by a score of 67-25.
All right, Joe, thank you so much. Del Valle surely not putting on the brakes in the second half. A big lead out there at Mustang Stadium over the Burgess Mustangs.
And Joe Rod says they're in the red zone right now. I tell you, when you put 60 points on a board, that's not the red zone anymore. I think it's the brown zone because they've been down there so much. And those guys play on turf, so.
There you go. Hey, let's head out to Irvin Memorial Stadium and Tony Shaw Field. The Irvin Rockets hosting the Bel Air Highlanders, and boy, the Bel Air Highlanders came to play. Let's head out to Zay Galindo for an update on Bel Air at Irvin. Zay.
Thanks, guys. We're out here at Irvin Memorial Stadium where it's halftime. Bel Air leads Irvin 47-0. These two teams met up last year in their season openers where Bel Air dominated 56-21. And right now, it looks like they're en route to another dominating victory over the Rockets. It's been Noah Moreno, the Highlanders quarterback, with 5 total touchdowns and over 200 yards of total offense for him, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, and he's just looked phenomenal on the field. Meanwhile, Irvin has negative 11 yards offensively, and he'll look to get something going in the second half. So, once again, it's halftime out here at Irvin Memorial Stadium where the Bel Air Highlanders lead the Irvin Rockets 47-0. Thanks, guys.
All right, Zay, thank you. 47-0, Bel Air over Irvin at halftime. Speaking of halftime in our 915 Tours Game of the Week, Franklin Cougars lead the Centennial Hawks 15-7. Also, Coronado over Chapin by just 1 point, 14-13, that game at halftime. In the second quarter, Eastlake leading Andress 21-0. And late in the game, down at South Lake Carroll, the Dragons lead the Eastwood Troopers 56-14.
And this just in from Alpine, Mountain View Alpine. Mountain View had a big lead, gave it away late, but then Alex Lerma, that's the guy we talked about, has to step up, taking over for the graduated Gilbert Gamboa. Well, he was there, but this time out of the backfield, catches a little pass out of the backfield, gets into the end zone with 20 seconds left on the contest, and Mountain View sneaks away with the 38-33 victory. Lobos coming home undefeated.
Wow, big win for the Mountain View Lobos down at Alpine. 38-33 Mountain View victorious over Alpine. Let's head back out to the reservation. Join J.D. Sursley for an update on the barn burner Week 1 game between Riverside and Isleta. J.D., what do you have for us?
All right, so they're probably going to add a few seconds on the clock. It's a minute and 21 left in the fourth quarter. Isleta 34, Riverside 27. Riverside is on the half side of Isleta. Pass goes 2 yards by Derek Vasquez, but let me try to catch people up. DeAndre Jackson in the first half was a beast and a monster. I have no idea why Isleta went away from him. He was for real breaking tackles. He has 2 touchdowns. Evan Martinez, obviously the coach's son of Coach Martinez, the quarterback of Isleta, a total of 3 touchdowns, over 140 yards passing and on the ground. And then Derek Vasquez played dead, false start, but Derek Vasquez put the Riverside on his shoulders at the second half because it was 28-7. And then they just kept muscling, and Carlos Rojas, Toa Samoya, Misioka, and Derek Vasquez all with lending their touchdown pads. And it is 50 seconds left. Isleta 34, Riverside 27. Riverside's driving to try to answer Isleta's late touchdown.
Okay, JD, we're going to get back to you. Stay on the line. We'll get back to you in just a moment. We have some updates from Steve Escajeda at Andress Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. And then, JD, we're going to get right back to you at the Isleta game. Let's head out to Eastlake at Andress and Steve Escajeda. Steve.
We've got 3:02 here left before halftime. It's now Eastlake 21, Andress nothing. That guy again, Julius Acosta, this time scoring it from 5 yards out to give Eastlake again that 3-touchdown lead. And quarterback Luke Romalee again for Eastlake, only 1 completion so far on the night, 1 out of 3, but that one is a 74-yard touchdown bomb to Ivan Medrano. And that East Lake defense just dominant tonight. Andrews so far in the ball game, 19 plays, negative 13 yards. And they're sharing the work. They're minus 4 yards rushing, minus 9 yards passing. So they've not very much of anything tonight. Again, 2:52 now to go in the second quarter. East Lake 21, Andrews 0.
Okay, Steve, thank you so much. 21-0 East Lake over Andress in the second quarter. Let's head back out to the reservation. Riverside at Isleta. Riverside driving less than a minute to go, down by a touchdown. Let's head back out to J.D. Sursley for an update. J.D.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, 17 seconds. Riverside just called a timeout. They are still driving, but it is fourth down. So the game is on the line right here. It is 4th and 4 on, I believe, the 27. So 4th and 4 on the 27. Riverside has the ball. Derek Vasquez, I mean, this kid has played lights out for Riverside, especially in the second half. After Isleta had a commanding lead, 28-7, they fought back, and it looked like Isleta was going to give the lead completely. And then, of course, Evan Martinez said, no, let me run 68 yards, running for days to score that, to make it 34-27. So now... Whew. All right, Derek Vasquez, number 3, the quarterback for Riverside, has 3 wideouts, 2 tailbacks, 1 on each side. They're waiting to call the tailback goes in motion, snaps the ball. He runs around. He throws it. He has a man. Oh, my God. He has a man. Carlos Rojas. Touchdown. Riverside. We have another score. And boys, the extra point, it should be the tie game. It probably goes into overtime. 8 seconds left. Derek Vasquez doing his Houdini Patrick Mahomes and does a elusive run around. He's technically Travis Kelce, which is Carlos Rojas, number 11, going down the middle. Touchdown Riverside. 8 seconds left. Woo! This has been a game for the ages. What happened?
Well, we can tell nobody is more excited than J.D. Sursley at Riverfront Stadium. I mean, at Hutchins Stadium. I almost think you'd be a Riverside graduate, J.D., but wow, what a touchdown on 4th down for the Riverside Rangers.
I should make him an honorary graduate after this. Thanks for the pub.
JD, with that pending point after attempt, how's it looking?
All right, Derek Vasquez. Uh-oh. They've been wasting some time, and something has happened. They pushed Riverside back. Oh, man. And Riverside, I mean, I do have to say, early on, they didn't trust their kicking. And it is 34-27 still on the scoreboard. 8 seconds left. Riverside has the ball. Oh, no, Derek Vasquez is sacked. Oh, my goodness. I have no idea what happened. The refs took their time. They pushed Riverside back.
Okay, JD, collect your thoughts.
Just pulled off the upset, and there's no explanation of what just happened.
Okay, JD, collect your thoughts. Please go find out what happened. We'd love to know what happened. It looks like that there was a penalty on Riverside on 4th down. Move them back, whether it could be anything. So why don't you see what you can find out. We'll get back to you in just a moment, but it looks like Isleta now has defeated Riverside 34-27 on a 4th down sack, and the Indians are going to come away victorious. We're going to take a quick break, head back out to JD for an update on this wild game, one of the best games of the night, Week 1. You're listening to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night, an exciting and wet Week 1 right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. And our 915 Tours Game of the Week, the Franklin Cougars lead the Centennial Hawks 15-7, that game in the third quarter. At halftime, just a 1-point game at R.R. Jones Stadium. Coronado T-Birds lead Chapin 14-13. In the second quarter, Eastlake all over Andress 21-0. At halftime, Parkland leading El Dorado 13-7. It's a final. Del Valle over Burgess 68-25. What we believe is Isleta over Riverside 34-27. Let's head out to Hutchins Stadium and join JD Sursley for an update on Isleta in Riverside. JD.
That was correct. Everyone upstairs and the refs downstairs were, I don't know, asleep at the end. I don't know how they were with this comeback happening. So Isleta escapes the win 34-33. They did give them the touchdown. They went for 2-point conversion, and they got sacked. So there were 7 seconds left on the clock. Riverside tries an onside kick, obviously fails, and then Isleta takes a knee. Little brother finally beats big brother. Isleta Indians escape with the win 34-33. They haven't beat Riverside since 2019. Evan Martinez obviously is the player of the game for Isleta, and Derek Vasquez. I mean, he did everything he can. Riverside Rangers, you got one heck of a quarterback. That comeback was amazing. So their mess up upstairs or whatever happened, they did give them the touchdown. There was 7 seconds left. They went for it, missed on the 2-point conversion. Isleta wins 34-33.
What a game. JD, thank you so much. I know you probably want to compile some stats right there. So what a call by Riverside and Gary Rakoder. You get pushed back, but hey, you're against a rival. You're going to go for 2 in the win.
Apparently so, and it's what we talked about at the time.
Wow.
I said you got the opportunity to go and get the win yourself if you drive the field. Kudos to the Riverside Rangers. 2.5 minutes left. They did indeed drive the field. The roll pass for the score that gets them in close. And this is not a district game. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter. And there's just this attitude. I was going to say new, but it's not really new. I think it goes back to Tom Work. He was a bit of a pioneer locally in that way. And, of course, Chuck Valise at Del Valle and then at Montwood. You know, we don't kick extra points. We don't settle for ties. We go for wins. And it works for them a lot of times, and then sometimes it doesn't work. And tonight was one of those nights where it didn't work for the Riverside Rangers. A nice comeback, but it comes up short. If they knock the 2 points in, it's bedlam down around Riverside side of town, which, by the way, is also Isleta's side of town, which is why this one is going to smart so much for those Riverside Rangers, which have been so high and mighty over the last several years. Well, right now it's Isleta that owns that side of town.
Yeah, even though it's not a district game, don't tell these two teams that it doesn't matter down in the lower valley. 1 year, 365-day bragging rights right now for the Isleta Indians. Riverside scoring on 4th down, scored with a touchdown. Looks like a penalty pushed them back. They still went for 2, a long 2-point conversion, and sacked. Isleta holds on for a 1-point victory, 34-33. Isleta over Riverside.
Wow.
We have another final out at R.E. McKee Stadium. Fort Stockton tops Austin 21-13. For a final recap, let's head out to Russ Bannister for an update. Russ.
Thank you. Yes, the final score was 21 Fort Stockton and 13 Austin. It was a game really of mistakes. Austin had blocked a punt and couldn't capitalize inside the 20. They had a touchdown on an interception. Fort Stockton did. It stopped the Austin drive. It could have possibly tied it up. But anyway, it was a lot of penalties. First game, teams are nervous. Okay, for Fort Stockton, they had a young man, Corbin Luna. He dominated that fourth quarter. He had 9 carries for 60 yards. It really kind of chewed the clock up for Stockton. They had 29 carries for 151 yards. They only threw the ball 8 times and had 23 yards. For Austin, they 32 carries for 169 yards. Ruben Bastillos was their leading ball carrier. He had 8 carries for 48 yards, had a 8-yard touchdown. That's it. Austin, they're hosting Parkland next week, so it should be an interesting game for both teams. Okay, from Austin High School, final score 21 Sports Stockton, 13 Austin.
All right, Russ, thank you very much. Tough game for the Austin Panthers. They actually led at one point, 13-7.
And remember, this is an Austin team that lost the same contest up in Fort Stockton last year, 18-15. But I'd say the one difference is the Panthers lost to everybody off a good team from last year. Think about Jaden Wilson, a triple-digit tackler on one side of the ball, 1,500-yard runner on the other side of the ball. He's been a monster for the last couple of years. In fact, the last 5 years, Austin's had a monster as Will Rodriguez before that. So 5 straight years, you might have had the best player in your district on your team all 5 of those years. That's Eric Pichardo as the head coach. Jaden Wilson is gone, and everybody else, who was around him. Luna, the running back, they're all gone. So Austin is reloading, hopefully loading. Hopefully these are bullets we're putting back in. And the fact that they were able to stay close to Fort Stockton, even though they don't come away with a W, I would think they got to feel happy about that. And I think just in general, regardless of who the Bubbas are on the field, Eric Pichardo, though, just seems to have a way of coaching up his teams. They play over their heads.
And Austin, once again, will get a home game next week, hosting Parkland. Speaking of Parkland, they've now taken a 19-7 lead over the El Dorado Aztecs, the late game at the SAC. Once again, 19-7, Parkland over El Dorado in the third quarter. We have a final out at Burgess Mustang Stadium. Burgess hosting Del Valle. This was all Conquistadors. Let's head out to Joe Rodriguez for a final. Joe.
Thank you very much, Bo. It's all final here with Del Valle picking up their first win of this 2023 football season, defeating the Burgess Mustangs by the score of 67-25. It was a very, very fast start for the Del Valle Conquistadores, starting inside of the red zone for Burgess on 2 of their first 3 possessions. It really got Burgess behind the 8 ball. The stars of the game for this one, well, it was the quarterback, Jake Fett, who went 10 for 13 for 107 yards, 4 touchdown passes. He did not throw a single pass in the second half. Didn't really need to, just because of the fact that in the second half, Jonathan Estrada went back-to-back kickoff returns for 70 and 82 yards. If you guys want a player who had a big spark on the night tonight in this first week of high school football, definitely Jonathan Estrada has to get some recognition there. Running back, tailback, Shelton Fuller, 9 carries, 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Burgess Mustangs, well, it's got to be quarterback Alex Rios, who definitely woke up in the second half. He only went 4 for 10 in the first half, finished out the game 13 for 23, 217 yards, and 3 touchdown passes on the night. Next week for Del Valle, they go down to back to Del Valle, and they host Pebble Hills, while the Burgess Mustangs have another home game as they will host Riverside. That's all I got for you here tonight out in Burgess Mustang Stadium, with Del Valle beating the Burgess Mustangs by the score of 67-25.
All right, Joe, thank you so much. 67-25, Del Valle over Burgess. Hey, we have a score update from Chaparral. Lightning delayed Chaparral hosting Fabens, but at halftime, Fabens leads Chaparral 19-8. Another updated score from Southlake Carroll. They now extend their lead over the Eastwood Troopers to 63-21, that game in the fourth quarter. Also an update from R.R. Jones Stadium. Coronado gets a field goal from Owen Levesque. the quarterback, and the kicker. They extend their lead to 4. Coronado leads Chapin 17-13, start of the fourth quarter. We're going to head back out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Centennial at Franklin. We're going to take a break. Much more to come on Week 1 of Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night, Week 1 Lightning Edition. In our 915 Tours Game of the Week, Franklin leads Centennial this game in the third quarter 15-7. In the fourth quarter, Coronado tacks on a field goal, leads Chapin 17-13. Eastlake at halftime up 21-0 over Andress. Parkland has added a little bit extra in the third quarter. They now lead El Dorado 19-7. These are all active games going on in the fourth quarter. Hanks over Bowie 56-32. Meanwhile, Bel Air all over Irvin 53-0. Also 35-0 Lake Country Christian over Cathedral in Fort Worth, that game in the fourth quarter. And also at halftime, Fabens leads Chaparral 19-8. We have finals from earlier today in 6A. Lubbock tops Socorro 37-27. Midland all over Montwood 39-14. And Mountain View topping Alpine 38-33. This late in the fourth quarter, South Lake Carroll up on Eastwood 63-21. Let's head back out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week and join Adrian Broadus for an update on the Franklin Cougars hosting the Centennial Hawks. Adrian.
11:08 left here in this one. Franklin still leads Las Cruces Centennial 15-10 in our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Centennial's Omar Terrones just nailed a 27-yard field goal. It's now a 5-point game, and you got to give Las Cruces Centennial a lot of credit this half. They've been wearing down Franklin's defense by just chipping at them with short yard runs. They're averaging right now on the ground 5 yards a carry. They have flipped the script from last week. Last week, 31 pass attempts to under 20 rushing attempts. This week, it's 30 rushing attempts for 168 yards as a team, and then on through the air, 19 attempts for just under 100 yards from quarterback Daniel Hernandez. He's been the show. I mean, it's just simple RPO action for the Hawks, and the Cougars are simply getting worn down. An injury note to mention, have not seen either Powers brothers back in the mix. Patrick Powers, the wide receiver, had 3 catches for 13 yards in this one, and his younger brother, Ernie Powers, had 2 carries for 5 yards. Haven't seen either of them back on the field yet. I'll keep you updated on this one. But 10:41 left here in this game. The Franklin Cougars up 15-10 over Las Cruces Centennial.
Okay, that's going to be a good one. Thank you very much, Adrian. That's our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Franklin hosting Centennial. Just a 5-point game, 15-10 Franklin over Centennial. Let's head back out to R.R. Jones Stadium. Join the Iceman, Brandon Cohn, for an update on Coronado hosting Chapin. Brandon.
5:08 remaining here in this contest. Coronado with the narrow 17-13 lead over Chapin at the 7:02 mark of the third. Coronado gets to the 13 on their opening drive of the quarter, and then they end up settling for the 30-yard field goal by quarterback/kicker Levesque, making the score 17-13 in favor of the T-Birds. Now Chapin, this last play, they actually drove to the Coronado 42 with 8:13 left, and then the Huskies decide to go for it on a 4th and 1. And their running back, Wade, gets absolutely stuffed for a 3-yard loss. The T-Birds D coming up huge in the clutch here in the fourth quarter. The Thunderbirds trying to drive. They have a 4th and 6 now at the Chapin 41-yard line with just 5:08 remaining. We'll see if they can put this one to sleep here at R.R. Jones Stadium. We have 5:08 left in this contest. Coronado 17, Chapin 13.
Another close one, one coming down to the wire in the fourth quarter. Brandon, thank you so much. 17-13, Coronado over Chapin late in the fourth quarter. Let's head out to Steve Escajeda. It's halftime over at Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. Andress hosting Eastlake. For an update, let's go out to Steve Escajeda. Steve. Oh, looks like we just lost Steve, but I'm hearing there's an update from our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Let's head back out to Adrian Broadus for an update. Adrian.
9:37 left here in this game. The Franklin Cougars have added to their lead 22-10 over Las Cruces Centennial. Franklin quarterback Shea Smith hit Elias Rangel for a 68-yard touchdown pass. Now, Shea Smith is 13 for 24 through the air, 181 passing yards, and now he's got a pair of passing touchdowns. So Shea Smith on the second play of the Cougars' drive nails him for 68 yards for a touchdown. 9:37 left in this game. Franklin's up 22-10 against Las Cruces Centennial.
And Bo, I got to tell you, this Elias Rangel guy, this has kind of been his mode. A guy you don't see the entire game, but all of a sudden, there's a guy wide open 40 yards down the field, and it's Rangel, and he'll catch one ball for 40 or 50 yards, and it'll be a touchdown, like they used to say of Chris Carter back in the day. What did Chris Berman say? Only catches touchdowns. I think that's Elias Rangel, and I don't think they can be fewer than 40 yards. That's a short pass catch for him.
Absolutely. Once again, 22-10, Franklin over Centennial. All right, let's head back out to Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. Join Steve Escajeda for an update on Andress hosting Eastlake. Steve.
Thanks a lot, guys. We are at halftime here on the northeast side of El Paso. Eastlake all over the Andress Eagles, 27-0 here at halftime. Andress has had such a tough time tonight. They haven't gotten past midfield not once here in the first half. Eastlake, they've been led offensively by, at least on the ground, by Junior Trotman. 3 carries, 26 yards. Julius Acosta, 5 carries, 21 yards. In fact, he's got 2 of those 5 carries for touchdowns. Their quarterback, Luke Lomalee, 3 out of 6 in the first half for 111 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Those going, one of them to Ivan Medrano, a 74-yarder. He's got 2 catches for 105 yards in that first half. The other was a 6-yarder to Adam Kirtley. Now, as far as Andress individually, there's really nothing to speak of as far as offense. And I'll tell you why. You'll see why when we talk about the team offense. For Eastlake, 60 yards on the ground, 111 through the air, 171 total yards at halftime. For Andress, rushing, they have 0 yards. Passing, -9. So far, they've run 23 plays on the night for -9 yards. And that's been it. Nothing to speak of for Andress at all. They've been bottled up all night long. It's been all Eastlake. Halftime, the Eastlake Falcons 27, Andress 0.
Steve, you said it right. It's been all Eastlake all night so far at Andress Eagle Stadium. 27-0 to halftime. Boy, this one down in South Lake Carroll sure just needs to end as well. South Lake Carroll now putting up 70 points, leading in the fourth quarter 70-21 over the Eastwood Troopers. We have a final from Fort Worth, 42-0 Lake Country Christian over the Cathedral Fighting Irish. Irish start the season 0-1. Tough game for the Irish. Got to regroup for next year, while Cathedral will travel to Mountain View. Let's head out to Ryan Vidalis at the Student Activities Complex for the late game. El Dorado hosting Parkland for an update. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan.
I think that was Ryan.
There's 7 minutes and 15 seconds left into the fourth quarter, and you have Parkland leading the El Dorado Aztecs by a score of 19-14. Things have gotten a little closer in this game with El Dorado just scoring right now, right before I came on air. El Dorado had the ball on a 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. And who did they look to? None other than the workhorse that's been for them all game, Albert Rabb. He punches the 1-yard touchdown in, and he brings this score in after the extra point to bring it a little bit closer with Parkland 19, El Dorado 14.
All right, 19-14. We got another good game at the SAC. Parkland leading this one earlier, 19-7, but here comes the El Dorado Aztecs.
Yeah, like anybody should be surprised. We talked about this again on the pregame. 4 straight years these guys have been going at each other, and the game is terrific. Every year, which means 19-14, that doesn't count as terrific. There's no telling what's going to happen in the fourth quarter, but it's going to be exciting. It's just what happens when these two guys get together.
Absolutely. So Parkland currently leading this one 19-14 late in the game. We'll head back out to Ryan Vidalis at the SAC in just a little bit. Let's head out to Joey Panisi over at Hanks Excalibur Stadium, get an update on the Hanks Knights hosting the Bowie Bears. Joey Panisi, take it away, Joey.
Yes, from Excalibur Stadium, home of the J.M. Hanks Knights, Scott Valise enjoyed an opening victory by a resounding 56-32 over the Bowie Bears. When I talked to the coach before the game, he said they were going to be a very offensive-minded scoring machine, and they certainly were. He did have concerns about his defensive line, but they held true. An interesting stat in the game was that it took Hank scoring 35 points before Bowie started to play, and they went ahead and scored 32. Mm-hmm. So technically, after the 35 points, Bowie outscored them. And I'm into the weird stuff like that. But William Carrasco for Bowie was their shining star. The quarterback had a 49-yard TD pass. He scrambled 52 yards for a TD. He had another 8-yard TD run, and he passed for 16 yards for another TD. His favorite receiver was Angel Garcia, who scored. And now the stats for Hanks are just unbelievable. Ruben Lagunas was the backbone of the team. He ran 22 times unofficially, 246 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. He also had 3 receptions and 1 TD with his receptions. Michael Oliver, the other workhorse, had 14 carries for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Andrew Castillo had a 33-yard TD reception, and I can't say enough about quarterback Marcus Porras. He was content being unselfish and being the leader of the team. There were times when he could have kept the ball, but he got the ball to his running back to do the job. So he quietly rushed for 66 yards on 10 carries. He was 10 for 17 in passing for 110 yards, and he threw for 3 TDs. He connected with Jude Blanco for a 49-yard TD reception, and then to round out the Hank scoring, Willie Aguilar contributed with a 28-yard pick 6. Bowie travels to Horizon next week to take them on, and Hanks will enjoy their homecoming game versus El Paso High. So, from Hank Stadium, final score, the Hank Silver Knights 56, the Bowie Bears 32.
Joey Panisi, great job. Thank you so much. 56-32 Hanks over the Bowie Bears. That postgame report brought to you by Boston's Pizza. Boston's Pizza is your go-to sports watching destination all season long. Stop by Boston's Pizza for football on Saturdays and Sundays, along with UFC pay-per-view fights, all without having to ever pay a cover. Boston's Pizza is family-friendly and is located on the west side right in front of Topgolf. Learn more on social media following Boston Pizza El Paso. All right, let's head out to another one winding down. This one's been all Bel Air over Irvin. Let's head out to Zay Galindo for an update from Irvin Memorial Stadium. Zay.
Hey, guys, we're under 4 minutes to go in this one. It's a dominating blowout for Bel Air. They're up 53-0. They've eased on the gas pedal. They put in their second stringers, and it was Jesus Hernandez, the backup running back, with a 10-yard run earlier on in the third quarter. That's been the last score so far. Irvin, however, has been able to get some offense going. It's Giovanni Soto, who did not see the field in the first half, their running back. He's gotten a couple of big-time runs, big-time as in 7 yards. But other than that, it's been all Bel Air. They're without their star running back, Zach Martinez. So, once again, from Irvin Memorial Stadium, it's 53-0 with under 4 minutes left.
All right, Zay, great job. We'll get a final wrap-up from you in just a little bit. 53-0 Bel Air over Irvin late in the fourth quarter. And we finally have a final from South Lake Carroll. The Dragons all over the Eastwood Troopers, 70-21. That is a final.
Well, you want to know what playoff football is going to be like. The thing that's always dangerous is, do you bring all your kids back healthy when you're overmatched like that? Injuries happen. So, fingers crossed on that the Troopers come back with everybody healthy and hale because they got to start district in a couple of weeks. And Pebble Hills, if it's the same schedule as last year, they got them right out of the box. So they're gonna have Pebble Hills, which is their biggest game, co-champs from a season ago right out of the box. They need to be ready for it.
Yeah, Eastwood's going to have to lick their
Cruces,
wounds,
right?
but they get Las Cruces Bulldogs, the 0-2 Las Cruces Bulldogs at home. Maybe that could be a recipe, just what they were asking for. So speaking of the Isleta Indians, it might have felt like they put 70 on their Riverside Rangers rivalry game, but just a squeaker, 34-33, Isleta over Riverside for a final wrap-up. Let's head back out to Hutchins Stadium and join J.D. Sursley. J.D.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the wrap-up, Isleta 34, Riverside 33. What a great comeback by Riverside and Derek Vasquez. Definitely their most valuable player. The quarterback, number 3, played his heart out, his guts out. His comeback was phenomenal, just a little short. And then DeAndre Jackson and Evan Martinez, the two-headed dragon, like for Isleta, was phenomenal tonight. Evan Martinez, the quarterback, running and passing over 150 each. A lot of penalties. Got to clean that up, obviously. DeAndre Jackson should definitely have gotten more touches in the second half because he was lights out in the first half. And I got that notification and feedback that we're trying to figure out what happened at the end of the game. So, of course, they scored the touchdown, no penalty on the play. But Carlos Rojas and his teammates did the bowling alley type pins. So excessive celebration pushes Riverside back. So that's why they got pushed back for the 2-point conversion. And of course, failed on the 2-point conversion. They didn't try to field. They didn't. I mean, I don't know why they didn't try to field goal when they were making it on the extra points all game. So who knows? But yeah, Isleta 34 finally beats the big brother Riverside 33. They haven't won since 2019.
Okay, JD, thank you so much. Once again, a final best game of the night, 34-33 Isleta over Riverside.
And maybe the reason you go for 2 is because your kicker, who's not getting in extra points from 20, can't reach from 35.
Yeah, that's bowling alley excessive celebration. There you go. They teach that in day one. All the coaches have been harping on that. Excessive celebration. That's going to be a penalty, and it costs the Rangers tonight.
That's why you got to be humble even when things are going well, and you want to act a fool. Somebody's going to throw some laundry, and it's going to wind up costing you a game.
Well, 365 days of bragging rights for the Isleta Indians down in the Lower Valley. Big win for Isleta over Riverside, 34-33. We're going to take a break, go back out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week and an update on Franklin hosting Centennial. You're listening to Football Friday Night Week 1 right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. We're going to go to our Ignitify local scoreboard. Here we go. Southlake Carroll all over Eastwood 70-21, and Midland tops Montwood 39-14. Elsewhere in 5 and 6A, Franklin leads Centennial 22-10 in the fourth quarter in our 915 Tours Game of the Week. This just gone final. Coronado tops Chapin 17-13, a big win for Mike Pry and the T-Birds. Elsewhere, Eastlake over Andress 27-0, and El Dorado trails Parkland 19-14.
That one's ballooned quickly. I'm not quite sure how. Maybe somebody with big thumbs texting again. This from Ryan Vidalis. Parkland now, after a Fabian Ortiz 38-yard touchdown reception, out to a 38-14 lead. As I said, that might be a big thumb situation.
Wow.
38 might be 28. We'll double-check that. 2:47 left in the contest. Parkland either 38 or 28-14 leads El Dorado.
We'll head out to Ryan Vidalis in just a moment. Elsewhere, final scores. Delvi tops Burgess 67-25. Isleta defeats Riverside 34-33. Hanks tops Bowie 56-32. And Fort Stockton topping Austin 21-13. Elsewhere, Cathedral falls to Lake Country Christian 42-0. Fabens led Chaparral 19-8 at halftime, a very late start there. And meanwhile, Mountain View tops Alpine 41-36.
And clean up on aisle 7, Ryan Vidalis, he's got his ears on, 26-14. 26. 14. Eldo down a couple of scores with 2:47 left in that contest. Remember, a couple of years ago, they returned to kickoff with about 20 seconds left to win one. So, don't close the door on Dorado just yet.
All right, we'll head out to the SAC in Parkland, El Dorado in just a moment. Earlier today in 6A, the early game at the SAC, Socorro fell to Lubbock 37-27. Let's head back out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week and join Adria Broadus for an update on Franklin hosting Centennial. Adrian.
Well, guys, we aren't done yet. 2:31 left in this game. The Franklin Cougars lead Las Cruces Centennial 22 to now 17. That's right. Franklin just stopped Centennial after a really nice drive all the way down to the Cougars' 2-yard line. Credit one of their linebackers in Jalen Williams for the Franklin Cougars for sacking quarterback Daniel Hernandez for Centennial. That actually led to a turnover on downs, but instead of running out the clock, the Cougars struggled there on their next possession. Quick 3-and-out. They had to punt it away on the first play for Las Cruces Centennial. Quarterback Daniel Hernandez raced in for a 48-yard touchdown. Remember, that's his second rushing touchdown of over 45 yards in this game. He has 12 carries, 159 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns today to go along with 117 through the air as well. Centennial not done yet. 2:31 left in this one. Cougars up 22-17. Over Las Cruces Centennial.
Turned out to be a good one, our 915 Tours Game of the Week. 915 Tours, a division of Classic Elegance Coaches, providing the best travel packages from El Paso to Dallas for Cowboy home games. Packages include round-trip travel, hotel stay at the Dallas Omni, an ultimate fan experience tailgate, meet and greet with a player, and your ticket to watch the Cowboys. For more, learn more at 915 Tours. Let's now head out for a final wrap-up, our Boston's Pizza post-game report, and join Brandon Cohn, the Iceman, at R.R. Jones Stadium, where Coronado narrowly defeated the Chapin Huskies. Brandon.
Yes, it certainly was a narrow defeat as Coronado comes away with a 17-13 victory. The T-Birds now 1-0 on this young season. Next week, an interesting game at Kaneohe on the 1st of September. Quarterback Levesque, 9 of 14, 128 yards. 2 touchdowns, also had 13 carries for 50 yards. Their running back, Thomas Murray, 12 carries, 109 yards. Wideout Blake Randak, 3 receptions for 87 yards. And also their wide receiver, Ben Wilson, had 4 receptions, 35 yards, and 2 touchdowns. On the other side of the ball, their quarterback for Chapin, they're 0-1 on this season now. They have a tough matchup against El Dorado on the 1st of September next week there. Devion Singleton really struggled through the air, 6 of 18, 72 yards. Did have some nice carries on the ground, 16 carries for 73 yards. And not much really on the ground for them either. They did have Kerry Wade with 8 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown. Also wideout Savion Jordan, 4 receptions, 41 yards. But how about this? Coronado, their defense completely shuts out Chapin in the second half. They shut down Singleton, their QB, had nothing going through the air, and in the end, it was a clutch field goal by who else? Levesque, their quarterback, the kicker, the quarterback, Mr. Do-It-All. He gets a nice field goal there late in the second half to put this one to bed. It's a final from historic R.R. Jones Stadium. The T-Birds are victorious, 17-13 over the Chapin Huskies.
Brandon Cohn, Iceman Brandon Cohn, thank you very much. We'll see you over at Boston's Pizza, our post-game spot. Hey, an exciting game over at the SAC between Parkland and El Dorado. Let's get an update from Ryan Vidalas on what was a close game, just a 5-point game, 19-14 Parkland led, but sounds like the Matadors are pulling away. Ryan, take it away.
With 1:40 left here in the SAC, there's Parkland 26, El Dorado 14. El Dorado is currently driving right now. They have the ball at the 15-yard line looking to score. It's been a little tale of two halves right now. Beginning of the game, we had a lot of excitement, lots of defense, and now the last 5 minutes of the game, things sparked up again. It's been ground and pound most of the game except for the very end right now. Both teams have started to get things going through the air. Parkland just led the last drive with a touchdown pass. El Dorado's quarterback is scrambling right now, and he's in for the touchdown. That is Elijah Isas. He runs it in from 15 yards out. So they're definitely going to get that score a little bit closer. Definitely do not count this game out right now. It is currently El Dorado 20, Parkland 26. They are going to attempt the extra point, and I would expect an onside kick coming out of this.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much. Great job. Now, stay on the line. We're going to head back out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Join Adrian Broadus as Franklin is holding on barely against Centennial. Then we'll head back out to your game between Parkland and El Dorado. Let's head out to Adrian Broadus, get an update on our 915 Tours Game of the Week, Centennial at Franklin. Adrian.
1:19 left in this one. Franklin hanging on with a 22-17 lead over Las Cruces Centennial. Second down and 12. They've got the ball trying to bleed out the clock. Franklin was successful by getting an early first down on this drive thanks to a 9-yard rush by Jordan Morales. Let's get some play-by-play here. Second and 12 from here on their own 33-yard line. Shea Smith comes out. He's got two running backs in the backfield with him. He's got two receivers split out far on each side, and actually he's got two receivers on his left. Shea Smith in this one, 14 of 26 for 184 passing yards, along with two passing touchdowns. He's got 12 carries on the ground, 30 rushing yards, and he takes this snap here on second and 12, fakes the snap. He's going to fakes a handoff. He passes that, and it's a catch for Elias Rangel, who's down to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Franklin. They just put the ice on this one. Wow, guys, it was a 67-yard touchdown there by Shea Smith to Elias Rangel to cap this one off.
Okay, Adrian, thank you so much. So pending the extra point, it is 28-17 Franklin over Centennial. Again, pending that extra point, a big play there. You think they're just going to run out the clock, and no, boom, right over the top, 60-yard touchdown.
And Elias Rangel, all he does is catch what, Bo Bagley?
Touchdown.
Touchdowns. A second long one, a 60-yarder earlier in this contest. He was usually good for about one a game last year, so I guess 23 is a new season, and Mr. Rangel bringing a little more production. Two big TDs tonight in what looks like a huge Franklin victory, and a little payback from a beatdown last season up in Cruces versus the same Centennial team.
Absolutely. We'll head back out to Adrian Broadus in a little bit for a final wrap-up, barring a miracle from the Centennial Hawks. Let's head back out to Ryan Videlis over at the Student Activities Complex, Parkland in El Dorado, coming down to the wire. Ryan, what do you got for us?
1:31 left here at the SAC. It is Parkland 26 and El Dorado 22. El Dorado lined up for what looked to be like an extra point, and they confused everybody by coming out with the fake. And quarterback Elijah Isas finds Albert Rabb in the flat for the easy 2-point conversion. El Dorado took a timeout, and they're about to get ready for an onside kick. This is much needed. If they don't recover this, then it's likely going to be a game. And it looks like Parkland goes up, and they do. They recover the ball. So this one's all but over. Pretty much Parkland will come out. They're probably going to take a couple knees and work out this clock. There's 1 minute, 29 seconds left here at the SAC. Parkland 26, El Dorado 22.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much. Nice job out there. Looks like Parkland has recovered the onside kick. So, in a night where lightning and rain took place, some fun, exciting games down to the wire here in either our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Franklin Centennial, Coronado Chapin, a close one. Now Parkland, El Dorado. Parkland up 26-22. We'll get a final wrap-up from Ryan Videlis in just a little bit. Let's head out to Zay Galindo at Irvin Memorial Stadium, get a wrap-up as Irvin falling to Bel Air. Zay.
Thanks, guys. Final here from Irvin Memorial Stadium. It's Bel Air 60, Irvin 0. Bel Air's able to shut out Irvin in the season opener, and it was bad from the beginning for the Rockets. It was Chris Davis after a 3-and-out force for Bel Air. Chris Davis returned one 55 yards. He returned a punt 55 yards, his first punt return of the year. And then it was a Noah Moreno show. The Highlanders quarterback had over 200 yards offense today and 5 total touchdowns. Just a dominant day. He totaled 8 completions, 14 attempts, 133 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and then on the rushing hand, he had 4 attempts for 101 yards and 3 total touchdowns. So just a dominant day for Bel Air and their offense, and they did that without star running back Zach Martinez, who was not playing in this one. For Irvin, not much to talk about. Giovanni Soto did have some nice runs down the stretch. He finished with 21 yards rushing, but outside of that, not much offense. So once again, dominating win for the Bel Air Highlanders. They come out victorious at Irvin Memorial Stadium, 6-0 over the Irvin Rockets.
All right, Zay, thank you so much. Great job. That post-game report brought to you by Boston's Pizza. Zay, we'll see you over at Boston's Pizza, your go-to sports watching destination. Hey, no cover for football and UFC pay-per-view fights? Sounds good to me. Boston's Pizza, located on the west side, right in front of Top Golf. Hey, we're going to take a break, come back with wrap-ups from our 915 Tours Game of the Week, Franklin hosting Centennial, also Parkland El Dorado, and get an update from Eastlake Andress. You're listening to Week 1 of Football Friday Night, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Week 1 of Football Friday Night, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Week 1 finally winding down. We have some more finals. Let's head out to the late game at the Student Activities Complex and join Ryan Vidalis as El Dorado hosting Parkland. Ryan, what do you got for us?
It is a final here at the Student Activities Complex. Parkland 26, El Dorado 22. Right before the end of the game, an interesting play as they were trying to, El Dorado basically trying to get the ball back. Parkland needed to get 1 first down to win this game. And Anthony Carrillo actually breaks through the line, has a clear field open and could have ran in for the score, but decides to make the smart play and slide down on the 10-yard line to run the game out and let the time expire. Very good unselfish play by the running back. And leading into the game, just to tap off his stats, Anthony Carrillo finished this game with 19 carries, 112 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also, 1 kickoff return for 90 yards and a touchdown. He was the star of this game and pretty much led Parkland on his back. On the other side of the ball, the story was the missing a star running back. Ryan Estrada didn't play a single snap in this game, but was suited on the sideline. So we are still trying to find out what's the story behind that. Albert Rad carried the team on his back, carrying the ball 15 times for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns on the night. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit not enough in this contest, but the exciting thing is this contest now is evened out. These two teams have played the last 4 years in a row. Parkland now ties the series 2 wins to 2 wins. And an interesting note, every single one of these games has been decided by a 1-score victory. Once again, out at the SAC, Parkland 26, El Dorado 22.
All right, Ryan, great job. We'll see you over at Boston's Pizza, right in front of Top Golf over on the west side. What a game between Parkland and El Dorado, 26-22. The Matadors victorious at the SAC over the Aztecs of El Dorado. Speaking of another close one, let's head out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Franklin gets a late, long touchdown to really put this one away against the Centennial Hawks. Let's join Adrian Bronis for a final. Adrian.
It's a final out here in West El Paso. The Franklin Cougars have defeated the Las Cruces Centennial Hawks 29-17. The Cougars fended off the Hawks despite a late comeback. Let's give you the full wrap-up of how this one went. First half, the Cougars went up 15-0, and it was sparked by a Jordan Morales 75-yard rushing touchdown that put the Cougars up by 2 scores early on into this one. Then Centennial responded with a 49-yard rushing touchdown by quarterback Daniel Hernandez of himself. So they were down by just a score at that point, a touchdown at that point. No score from the 10-minute point of the second quarter all the way to the 11:08 mark in the fourth quarter. A lot of defense on both sides, and you got to give credit to Centennial because they chipped in the 27-yard field goal to get the scoring back on. Franklin responded with a 69-yard passing touchdown from quarterback Shea Smith to wide receiver Elias Rangel, and that one was from 69 yards. Then later on, they'll connect. We'll talk about that one in just a second. How about Daniel Hernandez with another 48-yard rushing touchdown to make this one a game for Centennial? It was 22-17 late in this contest. And then it was Shea Smith hitting Elias Rangel for their second touchdown of the night, this time from 67 yards out. Smith finished the game in this one with 2 fumbled snaps, 12 carries, for 30 rushing yards. So he didn't do much on the ground, but through the air, that's where he found his success. 15 of 27 through the air, 251 passing yards, and a trio of touchdowns for the Division I prospect in Shea Smith. And Jordan Morales led Franklin on the ground, 6 carries, 95 rushing yards. Through the receiving game, Elias Rangel, what a story he was. 7 catches, 177 receiving yards, and those 2 touchdown catches from almost 70 yards each. He's definitely my player of the game from tonight. Gerald Williams is a nice younger name to watch for the Cougars. 4 catches today, 59 receiving yards, and he's only a sophomore. Again, that's Gerald Williams. We did not see much of the Powers brothers today. Ernie Powers carried a couple rushes for the Cougars and then was unfortunately sidelined due to an injury. And also, Patrick Powers, after catching in 3 passes, he was also seen without his jersey to close out the game as well. Las Cruces Centennial was led by their quarterback, Daniel Hernandez, who was 15 of 25 through the air, 174 passing yards. Had a nice day today, especially on the ground. That's where he definitely shined. 12 carries, 159 rushing yards, and a pair of touchdowns, both of them beyond 45 yards from on the ground. And so that'll pretty much do it for us here. Next week, Franklin will hit the road and take on Andress. That game kicks off next Friday night. And then, of course, Las Cruces Centennial, they'll take on La Cueva. That's next Saturday. How about that one there, Paul? You can mark down that one on your calendar. Saturday at 1 o'clock for a Las Cruces matchup against La Cueva. And that'll do it for us here in West El Paso. The Franklin Cougars go and they start their season 1-0 with a victory over Las Cruces Centennial, who falls to 0-2 on the season. The final score out here, 29-17 from our 915 Tours Game of the Week.
All right, Adrian, thank you so much. 915 Tours, a division of Classics Elegance coaches. You're placed for travel down to Dallas for Cowboy home games. What a game, 29-17. Franklin over Centennial. We only have one game going on in Sun City. That's Eastlake at Andress. Let's join Steve Escajeda for an update on the Falcons and the Eagles. Steve.
Well, guys, nothing much has changed here on Northeast El Paso. It's still 27-0 Eastlake over Andress. In fact, Eastlake was driving here just a little while ago, but then they fumbled, gave Andress the ball. And right now they've got it at the Eastlake 41-yard line, looking at a 3rd down and 11. Again, Eastlake dominant throughout. They're being led on the ground by Julius Acosta, 49 yards and a couple of touchdown runs of 2 and 5 yards. Quarterback Luke Lomeli, Talent Jr., 6 out of 10 through the air, 137 yards, a couple of touchdown passes. Again, one of those going to Ivan Medrano. 74-yarder. In fact, he has 2 catches for 105 yards and that 1 touchdown. The other one was caught by Adam Kirtley from 6 yards out. The story of the night, though, has been that Eastlake defense. Again, they've just throttled Andress all night long. Just to prove it here, 34 attempts on offense, passing and rushing, a total of minus 11 yards on the night for Andress. So, again, it's been all Eastlake. We've got 10:33 to go in the ball game. Eastlake, all over Andress, 27-0.
And, Bo, again, it's like what we talked about in the pregame. For a lot of teams, week 1 is like Christmas morning. You know, you're replacing, we talked about all the offensive skill talent that walked out of the door for Andress last year, and what were they going to be able to replace it with? Well, for Andress, at least week 1, their Christmas, like Charlie Brown, coal in the stockings. Zip. This is not indicative of what we're used to from an Andress Eagles team. So, the red flags are out. The fire alarm's not going yet, but the flags are up.
Very much so. The Eastlake defense could be for real. 27-0 late in the 4th quarter. We're going to have another quick update from Steve Escajeda after this break. We're going to go through the entire Ignitify local scoreboard in week 1 of high school football and look ahead to next week. see what other big games are on the horizon. Also have our top athlete and senior player of the night. That's next on Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back as we wrap up the night. Week 1 of Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. I'm Bo Bagley alongside Paul McKinnon. Let's go to our Ignitify local scoreboard. In our 915 Tours game of the night, Franklin tops Centennial 29-17. Coronado beats Chapin in a close one, 17-13. Meanwhile, Eastlake currently leads Andress 27-0 in the fourth quarter. El Dorado falls to Parkland at home, 26-22. Meanwhile, Lubbock tops Socorro 37-27. On the road, Midland beats Montwood 39-14, and boy, South Lake Carroll all over the Eastwood Troopers, 70-21. In 5A, Del Valle tops Burgess, 67-25. Isleta defeats Riverside, 34-33. Meanwhile, Hanks tops Bowie, 56-32. Bel Air all over Irvin tonight in a shutout, 60-0. Meanwhile, Austin and Fort Stockton, they battled it out, but Fort Stockton comes away victorious, 21-13. Cathedral down in Fort Worth had a tough time with Lake Country Christian. Lake Country Christian wins it 42-0. Also out there, Mountain View tops Alpine 41-36. And in the second half, in a late start, Fabens leads Chaparral 19-8. Up in the Field of Dreams, Mayfield and Santa Teresa has been canceled. No makeup date has been announced. And also San Elizario and Anthony, due to lightning, has been canceled. Let's now go to an update from Alan Sepkowitz Stadium. Join Steve Escajeda for a final update on Eastlake and Andress. Steve.
Well, we've got 6 minutes to go in the ball game, and it's still Eastlake 27, Andress nothing. Andress got close to scoring, and they had just gotten down to the Eastlake 10-yard line when quarterback Vince Gonzalez's touchdown attempt in the end zone was intercepted by Evan Estrada of Eastlake to end that scoring threat. Right now, the Falcons are on midfield around the 50-yard line with about 5:41 left to go in this one. A very workmanlike job by Eastlake, Elman Brown. They're led by Julius Acosta. Not a whole lot of yards, 8 carries, 52 yards, but a couple of touchdown runs. The quarterback, Luke Lomeli, 6 out of 10 through the air, 137 yards, a couple of touchdown passes. Again, those going to Ivan Medrano and Adam Kirtley. And the story of the night, as we've been saying all night long, is that Eastlake defense. Andress might get the ball a time or two still. Again, we got 5 minutes change to go in this one, but so far 4 total yards for Andress on the night on 36 plays, while Eastlake has amassed 249 yards, averaging over 7 yards per play. 5-12 and counting in this ball game. Eastlake well out ahead of Andress, 27-0.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. And that local scoreboard brought to you by Ignitify. They're here to help your air conditioner. They have over 20 years of experience in El Paso and a 5-star rating on Google. Don't take it from us. Call them today to set up an appointment. Ignitify is known for maintenance and repairs to your cooling system. Visit ignitifyep.com to get started today. Boy, Eastlake defense giving up just 4 yards to Andress. Pretty amazing that showing tonight. And some amazing athletes tonight for our senior player of the game. Paul, who do you got?
Well, Bo, for that one, I want to get out to the Student Activities Complex, Parkland and El Dorado. Parkland takes the 26-22 victory, and the guy who got him started in the right direction and actually kept him going that way, senior running back Anthony Carrillo. The opening kickoff brought it back 90 yards for a score, added touchdown runs of 2 and 15 yards. Remember, this is the only game that Carrillo played from beginning to end last season. Went for 161 in the narrow 35-27 loss. And then he was hurt week 2, broken foot, broken ankle. sat the entire rest of the season, came close to coming back by district, never got back in onto the field, and has had to just feel terrific for him. 19 carries, 112 yards, pretty pedestrian by his standards, but the 3 scores and just the fact that this kid is back on the field and made the difference. No, by the way, Ryan Estrada, the freshman phenom, who suited up but did not play tonight for El Dorado, that's the difference in this one. Parkland's running back comes back and comes through. El Dorado's big back stands on the sideline with his helmet under his arm. Parkland takes the 26-22 victory.
Big win for the Parkland Matadors. Hey, our senior football players, you must have your SAT, ACT results submitted for the Greater El Paso Football Showcase by December 1st to be eligible for the 915 Combine and the All-Star Game. Go to 915showcase.com and our social media to see weekly top 5 performers, scores, stats of teams and players, and more. Once again, 915showcase.com. Now time to name our Oscar Arieta Agency top athlete of the night. And we're not going to go with one. We're going to go with 2.
Or we might even go with 3. Wow. There's just so many guys cooking out there. And it's week 1, so we want to highlight all these guys. First of all, we talked about Elias Rangel. All he catches is touchdowns. Well, not so fast, my friend. This is a different version of Rangel. He went nuts tonight. Yes, he had his normal complement of TDs, a 68-yard reception, and then finished off Centennial with a 67-yarder. Late for the 29-17 victory, but on the night, Elias Rangel had a heck of a night, maybe the best of any receiver. 7 balls for 177 yards in payback versus Centennial. They take the 29-17 victory. Elsewhere, Del Valle all over Burgess. The sophomore quarterback, Jake Fetta, was terrific, but it was his junior receiver who had the big night. Not necessarily through the air, but the punt return. 2 separate punt returns for Jonathan Estrada, a 74-yarder for a score, and then an 82-yard kick return for a touchdown. As Del Valle runs off to a 60-18 win. Even though Burgess was overmatched, you still got to say attaboy to Jonathan Estrada. And finally, maybe a couple more guys. Let's get to Hanks Bowie. Hanks beats Bowie 56-32. Ray Laguna, couple of touchdown runs, 4 and 75, also a TD reception of 8 yards. And by the way, Isleta Riverside 34-33 final. The Indians win it. And Evan Martinez, their junior quarterback, third-year starter, a heck of a night. Couple of TD passes to Jackson. 2 TD runs of 17, and the final 68 yards with 2.5 minutes left in that one. The eventual winning score once Riverside goes for the 35-yard 2-point conversion and fails. 34-33, Isleta the winner. Evan Martinez, the spear behind that victory.
All right, and that is your top athlete, brought to you by the Oscar Arieta Agency, your top athletes from a locally owned insurance agency. The Oscar Arieta Agency is proud to serve El Paso. With 4 locations in town, the Oscar Arieta Agency can help you with your home, auto, and life insurance. Oscar Arieta is the official insurance agent of the UTEP Miners. Visit Rise Up 915 to learn more about prizes and giveaways from the Oscar Arieta Agency. As we wind down Football Friday nights, week 1, let's take a look at next week's games. Big ones on Thursday. Americus will host Odessa over at the SAC, 6 p.m. kickoff there on Thursday. Then on Friday, some big games here. Montwood hosts San Angelo Central at 4 p.m. See if the Montwood Rams can bounce back. Eastlake will host Rio Rancho in the late game. I think this is going to be 2 fun games here. Del Valle hosting Pebble Hills and Canutillo hosting Coronado. Both all teams coming off victories. Those are going to be some big ones. What are you looking forward to next week?
Coronado Canutillo always say used to be the battle of the Brookses. One of those Brookses is still there and coaching his heart out, as we said earlier, at least for the next couple of seasons. Scott Brooks at Canutillo. Coronado is a team we pointed to as maybe up-and-comers. They beat a pretty good Chapin team. Second half of last season, Chapin much improved, and Coronado being able to come away with the same victory they got last year, although this year a lot more hard-earned. It's going to be interesting early on to see what Coronado has. I think they might be challenging for a playoff spot this year in 6A, and that's a big thing to say coming from where Coronado's been.
Very much so. Well, that does it for Football Friday Night Week 1 edition. For Adrian Broadus, Brandon Cohn, Steve Escajeda, Ryan Vidalis, Joe Rodriguez, J.D. Sursley, Joey Panisi, Zay Galindo, Russ Bannister, our producer, Angel Munoz, and for Paul McKinnon, I'm Bo Bagley. Thank you for tuning in to Week 1 of Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.